Chapter 318. Reading on a mobile phone, shocking Yin-Chi rushed out from the depths of the ancient tomb. It was pitch black, and the air suddenly became 10 degrees colder. Pinbooknet. Many cultivators' expressions changed, and they all felt a sense of fear. Lin Tian narrowed his eyes and returned to Bai Chio's side in a flash. The outstanding cultivators of the 10 sects are not here. I think the secret chamber where the treasure is hidden must have just been discovered. Bai Chio said, looking at this Yin-Chi. Those people might have found something incredible after going deep into the ancient tomb. Evil spirits? Lin Tian asked. Very likely. Bai Chio nodded. There were many cultivators in this place, and many of them had fear in their eyes. After hesitating for a while, they quickly retreated and went back the way they came. More people were fighting with the Yin soldiers, rushing toward the depths of the ancient tomb in the direction of the Yin-Chi. Let's go quickly. Those guys from the 10 sects must have heard that there is a bowed-in in this tomb that can directly reach the airborne realm from the 9th level of the spiritual sea. They're all going for that bowed-in. We have to hurry, Bai Chio said. Lin Tian nodded and followed Bai Chio, cutting down the Yin soldiers blocking their way and rushing toward the depths of the tomb. Arg! Screams came from the crowd in front of them. Evil spirits! Retreat! Arg! Screams of fear continued to be heard. Some of the cultivators who rushed toward the depths of the tomb in the beginning ran back in a sorry state. Lin Tian's eyes were suspicious. There really were evil spirits? However, he was not afraid of such things. Be careful, Bai Chio said. Got it. Lin Tian nodded. Many of the cultivators who rushed into the depths of the tomb escaped, but more of them were still rushing in. Lin Tian and Bai Chio were very fast together. Soon, there was a soft light in front of them. Both of them frowned and sped up. Soon, the two of them reached the end of the tomb path. The scene in front of them changed drastically. It was no longer gloomy as a tomb should be. Instead, it was like a paradise. It was hundreds of feet in radius, and there were all kinds of strange plants. Lin Tian was astonished. There was actually such a place inside the tomb. It was truly a bit strange. Bai Chio was surprised as well. That alchemist from 1,000 years ago was truly extraordinary. He actually built such a treasure ground in his tomb. This is a hidden paradise for cultivators. He really knows how to enjoy life. At this time, there were many cultivators in this space, and there was an extremely dense, true essence interweaving in the air. Ah! A blood-curdling scream rang out, extremely ear-piercing. The ground was covered in blood. Many cultivators had fallen to the ground. Their corpses were no longer in human shape. Their flesh and blood were badly mangled. Ruthless roars reverberated through the air. More than 10 shadows flickered within this space. Yin energy was astonishing, and from time to time, a person would be killed. Lin Tian narrowed his eyes. The dozen or so black shadows were all malicious ghosts. Bai Chio gritted his teeth. As expected, such a thing exists. It's not easy to deal with. Ferocious ghosts were comparable to Zephyr powerhouses. At this moment, there were more than 10 of them in this space, and all of them had blood-red eyes that looked demonic. Scram! Someone shouted. It was the purple-robed youth from the Tsinghua Taoism. The dozen or so black shadows crisscrossed, and there was an eerie, ghostly aura. 9 young geniuses were fighting with them, and the light of true essence flashed continuously. As far as the eye could see, even though the 9 of them were unable to kill the malicious ghosts, they were able to repel them time and time again, causing many ordinary cultivators to be shocked. They secretly thought that the outstanding powerhouses of the 10 great sects were indeed extraordinary and terrifying. Lin Tian stared ahead and saw that the 9 of them were charging deeper into this space. There's a green wooden coffin there. Bai Chio pointed towards the depths. Lin Tian looked in the direction of Bai Chio's finger. Sure enough, beneath an enormous locust tree in the depths, there was a green coffin laid horizontally. Pure white locust tree flowers were scattered all over the coffin, and he actually couldn't sense the slightest bit of gloomy aura from it. The bowed-in refined by that alchemist must be hidden inside. Bai Chio was slightly excited. Lin Tian raised his head and looked over. In the deepest part of the cave was an arc-shaped wall of earth that enveloped this space. At first glance, the wall of earth seemed somewhat withered, and it seemed somewhat out of place with the vibrant vegetation in this space. He then scanned the surroundings. The vegetation was lush, but there was nothing special about it, except for the green wooden coffin in front of him. It seems that the Baodan can only be hidden in that coffin, he said. Bai Qiu clenched her fists and said to Lin Tian, "Charge." Then, she directly flashed over. A malicious ghost roared and blocked Bai Qiu's path. Bai Qiu's figure became illusory and actually produced 9 phantoms, flashing past the malicious ghost. Good movement technique. Lin Tian was surprised. Bai Qiu's speed was not slow, and her figure was as graceful as the wind. She dodged 3 malicious ghosts in a row, killed a large number of Yi's soldiers, and quickly approached the green coffin in the depths of the space, causing the cultivators here to be shocked. Who is this? She dodged 3 malicious ghosts directly. How can it be so easy to kill Yi's soldiers? The weapon in her hand seems to be extraordinary. It seems to be a spirit treasure that specializes in restraining Yi's soldiers. Someone was shocked. The purple-robed young man and the others naturally saw this scene as well. Seeing that Bai Qiu was about to approach the cyan coffin, all of their faces darkened slightly. A few of them moved, slashing a few killing lights towards Bai Qiu. The killing lights were extremely fast. They cut through the air and slashed at Bai Qiu's back. Lin Tian's eyes turned cold. He spread out the yin and yang row and instantly moved horizontally, swinging his sword. With a clang, the fiery sword chi cut through the air like a rainbow and shattered the killing lights. "Ah!" Bai Qiu screamed. There were a group of Yi's soldiers in front of her, and 5 malicious ghosts roared. One of the malicious ghosts approached her. "She's really troublesome," Lin Tian thought to himself. He moved his feet and flashed to Bai Qiu's side, pulling her behind him. With his back facing the crowd, a light flashed between his brows. A few white lotuses rushed out and were caught in his hand. Then he clenched his hand into a fist and directly punched in front of him. With a bang, the fist landed firmly on the malicious ghost's chest. Green smoke rose from the malicious ghost's chest. Then, it let out a shrill scream and flew out like a scarecrow. This scene immediately shocked the crowd of cultivators. The outstanding powerhouses of the 10 great sects can only barely force the malicious ghost to retreat, but he injured it with 1 punch? But how is that possible? How can a normal fist hurt a malicious ghost? Many people widened their eyes. At the same time, the purple-robed young man and the other powerhouses were also shocked. They had extraordinary combat strength and were not afraid of the malicious ghosts. They could force the malicious ghosts to retreat again and again, but they could not effectively injure them. However, at this moment, Lin Tian easily sent a malicious ghost flying with 1 punch, causing it to let out a shrill scream. This made the 9 people's eyes widen. "What's wrong with you? You can send a malicious ghost flying with 1 punch? Even my brother couldn't do that when he was at your level." Bai Qiu was shocked, but soon, her eyes lit up with excitement. "However, this is great news. Open a path for me and smash all the malicious ghosts blocking the way. I'll go in and get the Baodan." Lin Tian naturally would not refuse and nodded. In front of him, 4 malicious ghosts roared and rushed over with a group of Yin soldiers. Lin Tian touched his forehead with his right hand. More white lotuses floated out from between his brows, and he secretly held them in his hand. Then he swung the Nirvana fist. The true essence fist radiance passed through the white lotuses in his right fist and rushed forward with the unique aura of the white lotuses. Ugh! Screams were heard as the 4 malicious ghosts were sent flying. At the same time, the ordinary Yin soldiers were even more miserable. Under the Nirvana fist radiance with the aura of the white lotuses, a large number of them were instantly shattered and turned into black ashes. How is this possible? 4 terrifying malicious ghosts were sent flying with 1 punch, and a large number of Yin soldiers were crushed. What is that fist radiance? Is he the reincarnation of an immortal? How can he do that? Many cultivators were shocked. Bai Qiu also widened her eyes and stared at the scene in disbelief. But then, she gritted her teeth angrily. You bastard. How can you kill the Ean's soldiers and injure the malicious ghosts so easily? And you even asked me for a weapon? You're hiding everything from me. This is too much. Lin Tian was a little embarrassed. Can we not think about this for now? Why aren't you going to get the Baodan? Bai Qiu came to her senses. Yes, the Baodan is more important now. I'll deal with you later. With that, Bai Qiu used the mysterious footwork again and rushed toward the green wooden coffin under the locust tree. The malicious ghosts roared, and the Ean's soldiers roared as they charged toward Bai Qiu. Lin Tian swung the Nirvana fist again. Fist radiance swept out and knocked away all the Ean's soldiers and malicious ghosts near Bai Qiu. Screams echoed. The malicious ghosts were knocked back one after another, and the Ean's soldiers were crushed in groups. Clang! Just then, there was the sound of swords. The powerful cultivators of the Xingge Taoism attacked mercilessly, sending large amounts of sword radiance toward Bai Qiu. At the same time, the young man in purple from the Tsinghua Taoism and the disciples of the other sects attacked together to stop Bai Qiu from getting closer. Instantly, sword radiance swept across the sky and slashed in all directions. Lin Tian's expression turned serious. He took a step back, and a superior-grade sword appeared in his hand. He slashed away dozens of flaming tornadoes. Yang Incinerating Fourth Sword Move. Boom! The Yang Incinerating Fourth Sword Move was very powerful. The flames burned many plants and destroyed all the sword radiance. He stared at the young man in purple and the others with a dark expression. I got it. A surprised voice came from behind. With Lin Tian leading the way in his strange footwork, Bai Qiu quickly reached the green wooden coffin and took out dozens of treasure bottles from the coffin. Inside these dozens of bottles, there were all sorts of different colored pellets. One of the bottles was especially extraordinary. It contained a total of 12 thumb-sized purple pellets. The surface of the pellets was sparkling and translucent. Generally speaking, one would know that these were treasures among treasures. Fourth grade superior Baodan. The airborne pill. That's right. It's the rare Baodan that can allow a cultivator to reach the airborne realm from the 9th level of the spiritual sea. Many cultivators' eyes lit up. Bai Qiu put away all the bottles and flashed back to Lin Tian's side, looking rather excited. However, at the same time, he frowned and whispered to Lin Tian, "It's strange. The body of the tomb owner is not in the coffin." The body of the tomb owner is not in the coffin? Lin Tian was shocked. This was definitely the end of the ancient mausoleum. The green wooden coffin was also very extraordinary. The body of the tomb owner should be in it. At that moment, several powerful cultivators from the 10 sects came to greet them. Chapter 319. Reading on a mobile phone, Lin Tian stared at the young man in purple and couldn't help but laugh. Booknet. You're quite thick-skinned, he said. These 9 people had attacked Bai Qiu twice before, preventing him from approaching the green wooden coffin. None of them showed mercy. Now that Bai Qiu had obtained the elixir, this purple-robed young man claimed that the 9 of them had helped him restrain the ghost soldiers. What a joke! The young man in purple looked serious and said, "What do you mean, friend?" "Friend? Don't try to claim that we're friends. We don't know each other. At most, we're half enemies." Lin Tiandao. He never had a good impression of this kind of person. He said to Bai Qiu, and the two of them walked out together. "My friend, you haven't said whether you agree to my proposal or not." The young man in purple stopped them and said, "You two don't need so many void elixirs. Why don't you each give one to us and form a good relationship? We can feed them to pigs if we don't need them." Lin Tiandao. Bai Qiu covered his mouth and snickered, thinking that Lin Tian was too mean. Didn't that mean that he would rather feed the elixirs to pigs than give them to the young man in purple? In this space, the other cultivators obviously understood Lin Tian's words, and their expressions changed slightly. Lin Tian was obviously comparing the young man in purple and the others to pigs, and the result was that the young man in purple and the others couldn't even compare to pigs. Who is this? How dare he look down on the outstanding experts of the 10 great sects? Some people were frightened. Lin Tian didn't care about these people's reactions and pulled Bai Qiu out directly. The young man in purple's face darkened, and he blocked them again. Friend, I advise you to agree. What's the point of talking to him? Just take him. A cold voice was heard. An outstanding expert from the true martial sect walked over. He held a long saber in his hand that shone with cold light. It was a mid-grade supreme treasure. In the blink of an eye, the other 7 people also surrounded them, blocking Lin Tian and Bai Qiu's path. All of them were at the pinnacle of the sea of consciousness. As long as they had one Imperial Air pill, they would be able to step into the Imperial Air realm within 15 minutes without any side effects. For cultivators at the pinnacle of the sea of consciousness, such a pill was indeed very tempting. After all, once they entered the Imperial Air realm, they would be able to walk in the air, which was equivalent to breaking away from the scope of ordinary cultivators. What are you trying to do? Bai Qiu shouted. Lin Tianyi laughed. Can't you tell? They're trying to steal our Baodan. As he spoke, he looked at the 9 people before him and said, Speaking of which, all of you are the successors of the 10 great sects at any rate. Aren't you afraid that your actions will bring shame to the reputation of your sects? There are still many people watching. We were the first to arrive here, wasting our efforts to restrain the otherworldly soldiers and wraiths, but the 2 of you beat us to it and took away what originally belonged to us. Now, we are merely taking back the spoils of war that belong to us. We deserve it. The outstanding powerhouse of the Xianyang sect said. The others nodded and each took a step forward. There was a faint fluctuation of spiritual ether flowing out. Seeing this scene, many onlookers around held their breaths. Obviously, it was impossible for the 2 sides to be kind. Staring at the 9 people, Lin Tian's face darkened. You've thought it through. If you're not afraid of death, then come and grab the spear. 1 against 9? Can you do it? You're only at the 6th level of the sea of consciousness now, and they're all at the pinnacle of the sea of consciousness. Bai Qiu whispered, Don't we still have you? Generally, in this kind of situation, shouldn't the man rush in front to protect the woman? Lin Tian was rather speechless. You'd better show your identity. I'm sure they'll be scared silly in an instant. I rely on my strength to travel the world, not my family background. Bai Qiu snorted. Then why did you ask me to protect you? A peerless genius like me is the one who will trample on the long river of time in the future. Ordinary people don't even have the chance to protect me. I asked you to protect me because I'm giving you a chance to show off. You should be grateful. Yes, I'm grateful. Lin Tian nodded and said, I'm grateful to your whole family. What did you say? Bai Qiu gritted his teeth. With a clang, one of the 9 people in front of him attacked. It was the successor of one of the 10 great sects, the Beihing sect, and he slashed at Lin Tian. Attack! The powerhouse of the Rui Immortal Palace said in a deep voice. In an instant, spiritual ether fluctuations surged as the 9 people pressed over at the same time. This is too much. Bai Qiu was furious. Lin Tian asked Bai Qiu to step back. He waved the upper-grade true treasure sword in his right hand. Instantly, the flame swords in the sky were swept away. Boom! After all, it was an upper-grade true treasure sword. Such a sword could be said to be a little shocking. It tore the attacks of the 9 people into pieces in midair. Staring at the 9 people, Lin Tianling said indifferently, I'm warning you one last time. Don't attack. If you attack again, you'll die. You're only at the 6th level of the sea of consciousness. Don't think that you're strong just because you have special means to hurt evil spirits and soldiers. In a normal battle, you're much weaker than us. The powerhouse of the Shinga Taoism said, Let me give you a piece of advice. Give each of us 1 Imperial Air pill, and we'll all be on good terms. Wouldn't that be a good thing? One has to know how to be flexible. We're the successors of the 10 great sections. It's better for you to be on good terms with us than to die under our swords. I'll give you 10 breaths to think about it. You look very young. You don't seem to be 18 yet. Don't be too stubborn. The successors of the other great sects said. They stared at Lin Tian. All of them were calm and composed, looking as if they had Lin Tian in the bag. Bai Qiu was rather annoyed. Outstanding successors of the 10 great sects? What a disgrace. Lin Tian reached out and stopped Bai Qiu. He then took a step forward. You're just a bunch of clowns who only know how to jump up and down. I've even killed great monsters in the airborne realm. Who do you think you are? He said coldly. What? You've killed great monsters in the airborne realm? Isn't that a bit too much? You're only at the 6th firmament of the sea of consciousness. You think you can kill powerful beings in the airborne realm? All the cultivators around were surprised. However, despite being surprised, no one actually believed it. There was a huge gap between the sea of consciousness realm and the airborne realm. It was not something that ordinary people could cross, unless they had a king body or a true monster like that. The young man in luxurious clothes laughed and shook his head. After a while, the faces of the 9 people all darkened. It seems that there's nothing more to say. I wanted to settle this peacefully, but I didn't expect you to refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. One of them said. The 9 of them stepped forward at the same time. It was obvious that they did not want to waste time. You only have one life. Why make things difficult for you? Lin Tian shook his head. You're just putting on an act. The powerhouse of the Shinga Taoism said coldly. He stepped in front of Lin Tian and slashed down with his blade. The slash was so powerful that it made the air sizzle due to the friction. A layer of twisted heat flow was generated. Die! The man's face was cold. Lin Tian stood quietly on the spot with a sneer on his face. Clang! An ear-piercing sword chime sounded. In front of him, a sword suddenly appeared in the air and blocked the long blade. Everyone's faces changed. A sword appeared in front of Lin Tian, out of thin air. You! The powerhouse of the Shinga Taoism was shocked and had a strange look on his face. At this moment, another sword chime sounded. A second sword rushed out from Lin Tian's side and slashed at the powerhouse of the true martial arts sect. The powerhouse of the Shinga Taoism was shocked. He quickly retreated and dodged the sword. Didn't you want to rob me? Why are you retreating? Lin Tianling smiled. At this moment, 2 swords floated in the air in front of him, both of them emitting a cold light. Seeing such a scene, everyone was puzzled. Clang! 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 Ear-piercing sword chimes sounded continuously. 23 swords rushed out in front of Lin Tian, each of them emitting a cold, killing light. Seeing this scene, everyone's faces changed drastically. A total of 25 swords were suspended in the air. This was the first time they had seen such a scene. Behind Lin Tian, Bai Qiu's eyes widened. Lin Tian, this is the weapon control technique. It's the weapon control technique. Hearing Bai Qiu's words, the young man in purple and the others were shocked. At the same time, the other cultivators were also shocked. They all stared at Lin Tian in disbelief. Seeing everyone's expressions, Lin Tian's heart sank. These people seemed to know this martial technique. After a pause, he asked Bai Qiu, you know this martial technique? Seeing that Lin Tian had indirectly admitted it, Bai Qiu was even more shocked, his small mouth open wide. It's true. Staring at Lin Tian, Bai Qiu couldn't help but grind his teeth. How could I not know this kind of martial skill? This is a technique from a higher heaven. It's the only martial technique in the history of cultivation that surpasses God power. It's almost comparable to the ancient heavenly venerate secret technique. It's comparable to a heavenly venerate secret technique? Lin Tianyi was shocked. He obtained this martial technique from the ancient tomb in the first heaven. According to the ancient tomb scale, the tomb's owner was at most in the Zephyr realm. The weapon control technique in the tomb had such a great origin, a martial technique surpassing God power. Bai Qiu's eyes lit up. She clenched her fists. The weapon control technique is called a martial technique. It's close to a god. When cultivated to the extreme, it has the power to destroy everything. It's very terrifying. Lin Tian was a little surprised. Although he knew the weapon control technique was extraordinary, he didn't expect it to be so powerful. It's really the weapon control technique. Friend, can you teach us the weapon control technique? Our sects will owe you a great favor. What do you want? Everything is negotiable. Our sects have a long history and many secret treasures. We can give you all of them. Friend, if you have any conditions, feel free to state them. Treasures and beauties, as long as you want them, we can give them to you. The 9 of them spoke one after another. In the surroundings, the eyes of some cultivators from small sects and rogue cultivators also lit up as they clenched their fists. As a cultivator of the second heavenly domain, regardless of whether it was a loose cultivator, a small sect, the 10 great sects, or even the great holy lands and ancient families, they had all heard of the weapon-controlling technique's fame. This precious technique was rumored to have originated from an even higher heavenly domain, and its power was extremely strong. Lin Tian stared at the 9 of them and smiled. You'd better think about how to survive. Hearing this, the 9 of them's faces darkened. Friend, why are you making things difficult for yourself? Give us the Baodan Paragon technique, and you will also benefit greatly. This is good for both of us. That's right. It's not good to fight, the 9 of them said. What a load of nonsense. Lin Tianling said. With a clang, he didn't say anything else. The 25 swords clanged and flashed with cold light as they attacked the 9 of them. It seems that we have to kill you and take the Paragon technique. People like you have mastered this technique. It's a waste of the Paragon technique, so we can bring it to greater heights. Knock him down quickly. The 9 of them looked cold, and their true origin surged. How can you make it sound so dignified when you want to steal someone else's Paragon technique? You're making a fool of yourself. Lin Tianling smiled. His glabella shone brightly. He took out the treasures he had seized in the independent secret room from the stone ring and quickly imprinted them with his divine sense, making them the new weapons of the weapon control technique. In just a few dozen breaths, he had imprinted 10 top-grade treasures and 10 ordinary treasures with his divine sense, replacing the 25 swords. Clang! Suddenly, the sound of the swords became more ear-piercing and soul-stirring, causing the 9 of them to change their expressions. 10 top-grade treasures and 10 ordinary treasures. The weapon control technique formed by the combination of such a lineup was indeed terrifying. I'll kill all of you, Lin Tianling said. Chapter 320. 10 upper-grade true treasures and more than 10 ordinary true treasures. When such a lineup was put together and displayed by the weapon control art, the power was truly terrifying. The air was distorted by the slash, and all 9 of them were instantly forced to retreat. You! The expressions of the 9 people from great sect of purple light darkened. All of them were very strong, and they all had mid-grade true treasures in their hands. But now, facing the weapon manipulation art that had 10 upper-grade true treasures, they were undoubtedly at a disadvantage. Originally, they were 3 levels higher than Lin Tian, but now they had no advantage to speak of. They were all suppressed. Lin Tianling snorted. With a thought, the dozens of true treasures buzzed. Clang! 9 of the 10 upper-grade true treasures moved and slashed at the 9 people from 9 different directions. At the same time, the other dozen ordinary true treasures were distributed equally, and each of them rushed at one person. In an instant, the space was filled with weapons, and cold light flashed. The people were so shocked that they couldn't help but swallow their saliva. What a beautiful battle! Is this the martial technique that surpasses superpower? So powerful, he can fight against 9 people by himself with the weapon control art. He can fight against 9 people who are 3 levels higher than him at the same time. Gosh, this... Everyone was stunned. Bai Qiu stared ahead, and her eyes lit up. The Bai family's secret book clearly recorded the power of the weapon control art. She had seen the description, but she had never seen the real weapon control art. She didn't expect to see it on Lin Tian. Clang! The sound of weapons reverberated, and it was very ear-piercing. In front, Lin Tianji stood still, but the dozens of true treasures forced the 9 people into a difficult situation. Purple Chi Whirlwind! The young man in purple roared. In an instant, the sky was filled with purple sword rays, and they rushed at Lin Tian with great power. Lin Tianling snorted. He activated 1 upper-grade true treasure and 2 ordinary true treasures, and they tore everything apart. Poof! One of the true treasures rushed over and cut off one of the young man's arms. The purple-robed young man let out a miserable shriek as he staggered backwards. At this moment, an upper-grade true treasure halberd flew over. It was as fast as light, and the young man in purple was shocked. "Stop, Pooh!" The halberd continued forward and instantly pierced through the purple-robed young man's throat. The light of life in the purple-clothed young man's eyes was quickly fading away. The supreme treasure sword in his hand fell down, and he fell on his back with a thud. Dead? An outstanding disciple of Tsinghua Taoism, a practitioner at the peak of the sea of consciousness realm, was killed so easily. How dare he do that? That's a powerful disciple of Tsinghua Taoism, one of the top 10 sects. Many cultivators were horrified. At the same time, Tsinghua Taoism and the other 8 people's expressions changed. The purple-clothed young man's corpse looked so glaring. "You actually dared to kill him," a disciple of the Profound Sun sect said coldly. Lin Tian sneered. "All of you want to kill me and steal my treasure technique. Do you expect me to worship you?" The disciples of the Profound Sun sect were instantly at a loss for words. They could only stare coldly at Lin Tian. "You will not have a good ending," a disciple of the Kangluo Immortal sect said coldly. "Really?" Lin Tian tilted his head, and the corner of his mouth curled up. With a clang, 2 upper-grade supreme treasures and 5 ordinary supreme treasures of the top 10 sects rushed over, causing the space to creak. "You boom!" The supreme treasures of the top 6 sects pressed down together at an extremely fast speed. The power was extremely terrifying. The Kangluo Immortal sect disciple had no way to dodge and was cut into pieces on the spot. Blood splattered all over the ground. Gasps could be heard from the crowd. Another disciple of a great sect had been killed. He's too arrogant. This person is not to be trifled with. Many people's lips trembled. The 10 great sects were extremely famous in the second heaven. The outstanding disciples of each great sect were naturally respected and revered. But now, Lin Tian had directly killed 2 outstanding disciples of the 10 great sects without batting an eyelid. This shocked everyone. "This guy kills without batting an eyelid," Bai Qiu muttered. Suddenly, a ferocious roar resounded in the space. Lin Tian had killed 2 people in a row. Blood splattered on the ground. All the hostile ghosts and soldiers in the space moved like weasels, crazily attacking everyone in the space. In just a moment, someone was pushed to the ground and became food for the hostile ghosts and soldiers. "Ah!" Ear-piercing screams rang out continuously. "Let's go! Retreat! Retreat quickly! Run!" Many people shouted and retreated quickly. The Baodin and the tomb had been obtained by Lin Tian and Bai Qiu. Lin Tian was so ferocious and powerful. These people knew that they had no chance of obtaining the Baodin. Facing the hostile ghosts and soldiers, naturally, no one was willing to stay. The hostile ghosts roared and pounced on everyone. "Ah!" Bai Qiu screamed. A total of 9 hostile ghosts pounced on her, as if they had seen the most delicious food. Lin Tian turned around and was slightly surprised. "These hostile ghosts really like you." There were only a dozen hostile ghosts in the space, but now more than half of them were pouncing on Bai Qiu. This made Lin Tian feel a little strange. This was not normal. However, he did not think too much about it. A few white lotuses floated out from between his eyebrows and quietly attached to the treasure sword in his hand. Then, he swung the sword forward. "Ah!" Screams echoed. The 9 hostile ghosts were all swept away, and a large number of soldiers were turned into black ashes. Bai Qiu retreated to Lin Tian's side and patted her chest, heaving a sigh of relief. In the distance, the hostile ghosts roared and wanted to rush to Bai Qiu. However, when they stared at Lin Tian, their eyes were filled with fear. "Stay next to me and don't move," Lin Tian said to Bai Qiu. As he spoke, he looked at Tsinghua Taoism and the other 6. With a thought, dozens of treasures attacked again. "Damn it!" someone roared. Among the 7, there were people who were facing the hostile ghost attacks. Now that they were facing Lin Tian's treasures, they became even more vulnerable. In the blink of an eye, screams rang out again. The disciples of Rui Immortal Palace were killed by Lin Tianyi's sword. In the distance, the 9 hostile ghosts roared and pounced on Lin Tian. "Don't get in the way," Lin Tianling said. He swung his sword, mixed with the aura of the white lotuses, and sent the 9 hostile ghosts flying again. The 9 hostile ghosts struggled to stand up. They stared at Lin Tian with even more fear in their eyes. In the end, one of the hostile ghosts roared and temporarily abandoned Lin Tian and Bai Qiu. It pounced on the 6 disciples of Xingyi Taoism, wanting to devour their flesh and blood. In an instant, the 6 disciples' expressions changed drastically. Facing Lin Tian alone, the 6 of them were already at an absolute disadvantage. Now that the 9 hostile ghosts were rushing over, they were in an even worse situation. "You are destined to die here," Lin Tiandao. With a move of his mind, the treasures moved freely. When the hostile ghosts were restraining the 6 people, they all slashed at the 6 people. "Brother, please stop. It's our fault." "Yes, please be merciful. We won't have any ideas about your treasured arts and Baodian anymore," the 6 people shouted as they dodged. Facing the hostile ghosts and Lin Tian at the same time, they immediately fell into a desperate situation. "You're quite quick to beg for mercy." "Unfortunately, I'm not a saint," Lin Tianling smiled. With a clang, the 3 sects' high-grade treasures combined and shattered a disciple of Golden Feather Immortal Sect. Blood stained the ground. A hostile ghost roared and immediately pounced to devour the disciples' flesh and blood. Clang! The sword whistled again, and dozens of treasures rushed toward the other 5 people. Lin Tian never showed mercy to his enemies, no matter who they were. Ah! A moment later, another scream was heard. A disciple of Northern Great Heaven Sect was killed by Lin Tian. "We're all cultivators. How can you be so cruel?" The disciple of Green Flame Immortal Sect roared. Facing the hostile ghosts and Lin Tian's treasures, this person retreated again and again. He was as pathetic as he could be. Childish. Lin Tian was disdainful. The 5 high-grade treasures pressed down, each shining with a dazzling light. In the blink of an eye, they were above the disciple of Green Flame Immortal Sect. "No! Stop! Puff!" Blood splattered, and this person's head was directly smashed into pieces. Suddenly, a few more hostile ghosts pounced and tore this person's body into pieces in the blink of an eye, devouring each of them. These 9 people were all at the peak of the spiritual sea, and their blood chi was very strong. For these hostile ghosts, it was a great supplement. In the blink of an eye, only 3 of the 9 were left. They were the disciples of Xingyi Taoism, Black Sun Sect, and Windless Immortal Pavilion. As for the other corners of this space, the cultivators who had originally entered had already escaped, and those who did not escape had all become food for the hostile ghosts and soldiers, dying tragically in this space. Only the 3 of you are left. Lin Tian Andao. At this moment, other than him, Bai Qiu, and the 3 disciples of the top 10 sects, there were 15 hostile ghosts and hundreds of soldiers in this space. Because they were afraid of the White Lotus that he controlled, all of the hostile ghosts and soldiers were staring at the 3 disciples of Xingyi Taoism. Suddenly, the 3 of them were so frightened that their faces turned pale, as if they had smeared white flour on their faces. "Brother, we were wrong first. We admit that we were wrong. Can you let us go? We don't want to die. I beg you, please have mercy on me. After this, I will definitely reward you handsomely." The 3 of them begged for mercy. Lin Tianling laughed. "After this, all you will think about is how to take revenge on me. Do you think I am an idiot?" As soon as he finished speaking, dozens of precious weapons slashed forward, pressing forward. Puff! Puff! 2 streams of blood mist floated up, and the disciples of Black Sun Sect and Windless Immortal Pavilion were sent flying while vomiting blood. In the next moment, the hostile ghosts and soldiers roared and pounced on the 2 of them. "Ah, no!" Shrill screams rang out as the 2 of them were drowned by the hostile ghosts and soldiers. Blood splattered everywhere. The disciples of Xingyi Taoism were horrified. They frantically activated the true essence in their bodies and fled out of this space. Do you think you can escape? Lin Tianling laughed. Dozens of precious weapons clanged as they attacked the outstanding disciples of Xingyi Taoism like lightning. At this moment, the space suddenly trembled. An extremely terrifying strand of yin qi radiated from the curved wall of withered earth at the end of the space. It immediately caused Lin Tian's expression to change drastically. It was also because of this that the precious weapons he took out trembled and disrupted the attacking rhythm, allowing the disciples of Xingyi Taoism to escape by luck. Lin Tianling cursed in his heart, but he tilted his head and stared at the curved wall at the end of the space. With a crisp sound, the curved wall in front of him gradually shattered, and a green sarcophagus was placed in it. The green sarcophagus was surrounded by dense black mist. It was frighteningly cold, and it made the hostile ghosts in this space tremble. Squeak! Chapter 321. The green sarcophagus was huge. Black yin qi lingered around the body of the sarcophagus, never dissipating. At this moment, a creaking sound came from inside, as if sharp claws were pulling at the lid of the sarcophagus. It was extremely creepy. There's another coffin. Bai Qiu was shocked. Lin Tian's expression turned serious. This should be the coffin of the alchemist from back then. That thing, don't tell me it has turned into a corpse? Bai Qiu swallowed his saliva. That's obvious. Lin Tiandao. As soon as he finished speaking, the green sarcophagus shook violently, and the lid of the sarcophagus flew out with a bang. A cloud of black yin qi rushed out, and the temperature dropped by dozens of degrees. Even someone as strong as Lin Tian felt a chill. In front of him, black fog poured out of the green sarcophagus. Then a leg stepped out and stomped on the ground. The ground sizzled as if it was corroded by concentrated sulfuric acid. Lin Tian's expression turned serious. He pulled Bai Qiu back a step. Around them, the baleful ghosts and soldiers became uneasy. Some were scared, and some were trembling. Soon, the yin qi dissipated, and the thing in the sarcophagus finally walked out. This was a terrifying demonic figure. Its skin was pale white, and there were brown spots on its head. Its entire body was shrouded in a frightening yin fog, especially its eyes. One was as black as ink, and the other was as white as snow. It gave people an extremely demonic feeling. Its appearance is a lot different from the portrait in our Bai family's ancient records, but it looks right. It's definitely the alchemist from back then. Bai Qiu's eyes widened. Is it trying to enter the Tao as a corpse and obtain a new life? It's crazy. Whoosh! A gust of wind blew, and the air became even colder. The alchemist's corpse spat out yin qi. Its claws were half an inch long, and they looked very sharp. Lin Tian suddenly trembled. In his sea of consciousness, all the white lotuses swayed together for the first time. Let's go. His expression changed slightly. He pulled Bai Qiu and turned to flee. The white lotuses in his sea of consciousness were warning him. This alchemist's corpse was very terrifying. It was definitely beyond the baleful ghost level. Bai Qiu naturally felt the danger and followed Lin Tian out. Seeing that they were about to escape, all the malicious ghosts and yin soldiers in this space suddenly moved and blocked the path leading to the outside world. Scram! Lin Tian shouted. The supreme treasure sword in his hand still had a few white lotuses stuck on it. With a swing of the sword, he crushed a large number of yin soldiers. At the same time, a few malicious ghosts brushed past the white lotus aura and were sent flying while screaming. Lin Tian pulled Bai Qiu and quickly fled. However, this time, there were no more malicious spirits that were afraid of him. Even the yin soldiers were not afraid. All of them pounced towards him. Or rather, almost all of them were pouncing towards Bai Qiu, who was beside him. Each and every one of the ghosts' eyes lit up as if they had seen the most delicious food in the world. Clang! 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 His cultivation was very strong now, and his Jin Yuan was very condensed. Even without the help of the white lotuses, he could kill the yin soldiers and injure the malicious ghosts. Suddenly, Many Yin soldiers were crushed, and some malicious ghosts were blasted away, opening a path. Roar! A dozen malicious ghosts roared and quickly blocked the way again. The evil ghosts and Yin soldiers roared as the path was sealed once again. At the same time, a cold aura flashed, causing Lin Tian's hair to stand on end. He didn't dare to hesitate at all as he pulled Bai Qiu and moved 10 meters to the right. With a bang, the place where he was just standing exploded. The alchemist's corpse rushed there like a fierce cannonball. Lin Tian's heart trembled. This thing was too terrifying. It made him feel the threat of death. The alchemist's corpse spat out Yin Qi. One black and one white Yin eye stared at Lin Tian, then moved to Bai Qiu. Suddenly, an even more shocking Yin Qi rushed out. Around it, a group of malicious ghosts and Yin soldiers roared and rushed over. Suddenly, Lin Tian and Bai Qiu were surrounded by countless malicious ghosts and Yin soldiers. One by one, the malicious ghosts and Yin soldiers roared and attacked the two in a frenzy. It was frightening. At the same time, the alchemist's corpse rushed over, and its pitch-black claws corroded the air. Hold on tight. Chapter 322. Lin Tianyi was shocked. What did you say? You have the extreme Yin body? He remembered that the extreme Yin body was one of the top constitutions among the 12 king constitutions. Once cultivated to the great accomplishment level, one could use the original extreme Yin body to destroy any power in the world. Only the chaotic body could suppress the extreme Yin body. Of course, there was also the reincarnation body, which was said to be able to defeat all king constitutions. You have the extreme Yin body. Lin Tian was shocked. Bai Qiu pinched Lin Tian. This is the biggest secret of our Bai family. Now I'm forced to tell you. Are you blaming me? Lin Tian was speechless. Bai Qiu said angrily, to the Yin soldiers and evil spirits, my origin of extreme Yin is the best tonic. Before, because there were people here and they were afraid of your strange phenomenon in your psyche ocean, they turned to attack other people. Now that there are only the two of us left, they targeted me. They don't want to let me leave this place. Because if they can obtain my origin of extreme Yin in time, they will definitely be able to evolve into the invincible Saint Yin, so they all want to eat me. Why did you come to this Yin tomb if you knew? Lin Tian was furious. How would I know that the bastard alchemist would create so many Yin soldiers and malicious ghosts, and even refine himself into this state? It seems that the bastard must have taken the soul-locking pill, corpse pill, and Yin gathering pill at the same time before he died. He forced himself to grow in the cyan stone coffin until now, hoping that he could luckily survive. What a bastard! Bai Qiu cursed, seeing the evil spirits getting closer and closer, and the terrifying alchemist. Lin Tian couldn't help but hit Bai Qiu. It's all because of you. Then he let go of Bai Qiu and said, since you have the extreme Yin body, you should be able to suppress the evil spirits and evil spirits. Now that you've explained it, don't hide it anymore. With the help of your Bai family's Abhijna, we can attack together and kill all the evil spirits and evil spirits as soon as possible. Then we can escape from that alchemist. Remember, don't fight that thing head-on. It's very dangerous. We can only escape before it surpasses us. Got it? Bai Qiu nodded. At this moment, Bai Qiu clearly understood that the situation was very dangerous, and his expression became serious. With a boom, a faint light flowed out of Bai Qiu's body. It looked like Yin Qi, but it was filled with holy energy. Then, Bai Qiu quickly waved his hands, and a large number of light patterns rushed out from behind him, turning into light leaves that slashed forward. Qi! 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 In the blink of an eye, a large number of Yin soldiers in front of him collapsed, and a malicious spirit was swept by the dim light and turned into ashes immediately. Lin Tianwei was shocked. As expected of the extreme Yin physique, this is a combination of the core secret skills of our Bai family's godly sutra. Otherwise, even if I have the Taiyin body, it would be very difficult for me to kill the evil ghosts so easily. Bai Qiu said, understood. There are no outsiders here. You can use the Divine Sutra at will. Let's not waste any more words. Let's clear the obstacles. Lin Tiandao. Bai Qiu muttered. Aren't you an outsider? You make it sound like there's something between us. What are you mumbling about? Nothing. The two of them attacked together. White lotuses fluttered in the air, and the dim light vibrated. They crushed the Yin soldiers and killed the malicious spirits. The pharmacist's corpse roared and stepped forward. Its movements became more agile, and it raised its hand to grab Bai Qiu. Get out of the way, Lin Tian said to Bai Qiu. Bai Qiu stepped on the godly void puppet of the Divine Sutra, leaving behind a few afterimages, and appeared in another position. The group of malicious spirits and Yin soldiers roared and immediately rushed forward. White Lotus Slash, Lin Tian shouted. He activated the anomaly in his mind. A large number of white lotuses rushed out like white light swords, quickly surging in all directions. In the blink of an eye, a large number of Yin soldiers were destroyed, and at the same time, a malicious spirit was killed, turning it into black ashes. With a whoosh, the pharmacist's corpse rushed over and grabbed at Bai Qiu. Lin Tian moved and blocked in front of the pharmacist. More white lotuses rushed out from between his eyebrows and turned into sharp blades that slashed at the pharmacist. Boom! The attack was powerful, but Lin Tian didn't think it could hurt the pharmacist. He only wanted to force her back. With a bang, the pharmacist's corpse took a step back. Lin Tian didn't want to fight it head-on. He turned to kill the other malicious spirits. Then, the pharmacist's corpse began to madly attack, and its speed became faster and faster. Damn it, Lin Tian cursed. Not long after, the Yin soldiers and malicious spirits in the space were basically cleared out by him and Bai Qiu. However, by this time, the pharmacist's corpse had become much faster, and it was not much slower than Lin Tian's. Moreover, as time passed, the Yin Qi in this space started to flow towards the alchemist's corpse, causing the Qi on the alchemist's body to become even more terrifying. Lin Tian couldn't help but feel his heart twitch. Clanging sounds shook the space. He used the weapon control technique, and dozens of treasure weapons spun in the air. Each of the treasure weapons was covered with white lotuses, and they carried the aura of the white lotuses. Together with Bai Qiu, they quickly killed all the remaining Yin soldiers and malicious spirits. Let's go, he said in a low voice, and pulled Bai Qiu toward the tunnel. The pharmacist's corpse was terrifying. He didn't want to fight it head-on. Basically, fighting it head-on was suicide. With a swoosh, the Yin Qi in front of them appeared. Lin Tian's face changed drastically, and he quickly retreated. The pharmacist's corpse appeared in front of them, and its black and white eyes stared at Bai Qiu, who was behind Lin Tian. Lin Tian's face hardened, and he pulled Bai Qiu away again. At this moment, he used the yin-yang talisman to its limit. It was as if every step he took left an afterimage behind. However, to his surprise, the pharmacist's corpse appeared in front of him again, not much slower than him. It reached out with its palm. Lin Tian's face changed, and he raised his iron fist to meet the attack. Bang! With a muffled sound, it was as if his fist had hit a diamond. Lin Tian and Bai Qiu were both pushed back dozens of steps. It's faster than you, Bai Qiu exclaimed. Nonsense! I can see that. Lin Tian's face darkened. At this moment, the Yin Qi on the body of the alchemist had become denser, and its claws were even darker. Its speed had also increased, and it was already a little faster than Lin Tian. This made Lin Tian's face turn ugly. In terms of physical strength, he was far from being comparable to this alchemist's corpse. Originally, he could only rely on speed to escape, but now, speed was no longer an option. The pharmacist's corpse growled, and like a wild beast, it charged at Bai Qiu. Its black and white eyes glowed with a demonic light. They stared at Bai Qiu as if he was food. Bastard! Bai Qiu cursed. Lin Tian shoved Bai Qiu aside. The space between his eyebrows glowed brightly, and for the first time his spiritual manifestation was at full power. A dense cluster of white lotuses rushed out, and they formed a 3-foot-long lotus sword. It slashed viciously at the pharmacist's corpse. With a clang, The lotus sword slashed at the pharmacist's body, carrying with it the power to destroy evil. With a rip, the pharmacist's robes were torn apart, leaving behind a trail of dark red blood. It was at this moment that Lin Tian noticed a strange mark on the pharmacist's chest. It looked like the mark of a plum blossom, strange and demonic. A pill mark? Bai Qiu was shocked. Lin Tian took a step back. What's that? Before the pharmacist died, it must have swallowed a corpse pill, a soul lock pill, and a yin gathering pill. After the 3 pills melted, the core essence condensed into a mark on the pharmacist's chest. In other words, that's its Achilles heel. Once the mark is destroyed, the pharmacist's strength will plummet, and it might even turn to ash. Bai Qiu said quickly. Lin Tianyi was shocked. Are you sure? I'm not completely sure, but it shouldn't be too far off. Bai Qiu said. Lin Tian took a deep breath. Then let's give it a try. Let's attack together. It was impossible for them to escape now. Only by destroying the pharmacist's corpse would they have a chance at survival. Bai Qiu nodded. There was a flicker of light as he used the Sutra of Mindlessness. The sky was filled with swirling light. With a single thought from Lin Tianyi, the white lotus floated into the air. Dozens of supreme treasures trembled as clanging sounds rang out continuously. This was a huge force. Bai Qiu originally had the extreme yin body, and together with the godly sutra, he could almost kill Zephyr Realm experts. Lin Tian's attack was naturally terrifying as well. The combination of the weapon control technique and the strange phenomenon in his sea of consciousness was also extremely powerful. Boom! The combined force of the 2 attacks sent the pharmacist stumbling backward. Lin Tian charged forward, leaving a trail of afterimages in his wake. In the blink of an eye, he was right in front of the pharmacist. He lifted his right hand, and the first seal of the 4 symbols appeared in front of him. He pressed it against the pharmacist's chest, covering the pill mark. Roar! The wraith howled. It was clearly injured, but the effect was not strong. Suddenly, an even stronger wave of yin energy surged from the wraith's body. Lin Tian retreated, but the yin energy brushed past him. He coughed up a mouthful of blood and felt as if his bones were about to fall apart. He stumbled back a dozen steps, his chest throbbing with pain. That pill mark is special. Your Tao diagram is powerful, but it can't destroy it. Bai Qiu said. I can see that. Lin Tian nodded. The wraith howled again, and the yin energy surged like an ocean. Lin Tian and Bai Qiu worked together to fight against the pharmacist's corpse, using all of their methods. For symbol seal, light of the white lotus, weapon controlling technique, aura of extreme yin, divine sutra divine arts, all kinds of divine lights fluttered about, but it was completely useless, continuously suffering damage. Bang! Bang! Again, they were sent flying, each coughing up a mouthful of blood. The pharmacist growled and reached for Bai Qiu. As soon as she got close, the pill mark on her chest lit up, as if excited by some special power. Get out of my way! Lin Tian gritted his teeth. The yin-yang rock flashed in front of Bai Qiu and punched him. Bang! His fist slammed into the pill mark on the pharmacist's chest. His powerful physical strength forced the pharmacist to stumble back a couple of steps. However, Lin Tian himself was knocked back several dozen feet. The hand that had touched the pill mark on the alchemist's chest felt a burning pain, as if it was being burned by a raging inferno. It was a heart-wrenching pain. Lin Tian. Bai Qiu rushed to his side. Are you all right? I'm fine. Lin Tian and Bai Qiu. The pharmacist took a couple of steps back and steadied herself. Suddenly, she let out a roar. A violent surge of yin qi shook the area. At the same time, a special pill qi circulated, causing the space around them to distort. Destructive energy flowed everywhere. Lin Tian's expression changed. This kind of energy fluctuation was too scary. It's over. It's over. It's over. Bai Qiu's face was pale. Not even airborne realm beings would have been able to withstand such a terrifying aura. Lin Tian gritted his teeth and clenched his right hand, thinking of a way to escape. At that moment, the sword mark on his right hand suddenly lit up. A strange fluctuation spread to his mind, causing the mysterious iron sword at the bottom of his mind to tremble slightly. In an instant, ripples flowed out from the mysterious iron sword. They turned into runes that filled the sky. In the blink of an eye, they filled every corner of his mind. I equals FIPS, LAS equals AGS, AGS. Chapter 323. The runes in the sky flickered and floated in Lin Tian's sea of consciousness. It was as if millions of birds were flapping their wings and buzzing. Looking at Lin Tianji, he felt that the runes in the sky were like clusters of small flames, blazing but warm at the same time. Buzz! The runes flickered and jumped like fairies. Soon, the endless runes gathered together and condensed into two ancient seals in his sea of consciousness, the Medicine Codex. This is... Lin Tian was shocked. The two ancient seals trembled slightly and then collapsed again, turning into runes in the sky and merging into his sea of consciousness. In an instant, Lin Tian felt like a dense mass of things had appeared in his mind, and they were profound and profound. Vaguely, an ethereal voice echoed in his sea of consciousness, solemn and ancient. Medicine can save people, but it can also kill people. Lin Tian only felt his body tremble. Then, mysterious secret techniques appeared one after another, flashing past like sparks of lightning. Soon, everything disappeared, leaving only specks of divine light intertwined in his sea of consciousness. Dong! Suddenly, a violent tremor sounded, causing Lin Tian to come back to his senses. Everything in his sea of consciousness happened in an instant. At this time, Lin Tian looked up and saw that the yin qi on the body of the alchemist had become thicker. There was also a blazing pale qi on the surface of the alchemist's body. The aura was terrifying. "What should we do, Lin Tian?" Bai Qiu was crying. At this time, the two of them were forced into a corner. There was no way to escape. "Roar!" The alchemist roared and stared at Lin Tian and Bai Qiu with its black and white eyes. It rushed toward them with a mighty wave of yin qi. Lin Tian gritted his teeth and spread out the yin and yang puppet. He pulled Bai Qiu and moved dozens of feet away. In his sea of consciousness, specks of light flashed. A strange secret technique gradually surged up like a blazing flame. "Stay here and don't move," he said to Bai Qiu. As soon as he finished speaking, he left behind an afterimage and directly rushed out. "Lin Tian, what are you doing?" Bai Qiu was shocked. In the next moment, Bai Qiu's expression changed slightly. Lin Tianyi moved quickly and raised both of his hands. He started to form seals at an extremely fast speed. He was so fast that even Bai Qiu, who had the extreme body of the 8th level of the Sea of Consciousness, could barely see his afterimages. At this time, Lin Tian's body emitted a strange wave of energy that caused the pharmacist's corpse to tremble. Staring at Lin Tian, the pharmacist's corpse let out a terrifying roar. "Come here!" Lin Tian shouted in a deep voice. As the words left his mouth, the speed at which he formed the hand seals became faster, and he sent out a series of strange hand seals. The pharmacist's corpse seemed to have seen some kind of threat, or perhaps it had seen some kind of treasure. With a roar, it actually rushed towards Lin Tian. It spat out mist from its mouth like a 1,000-year-old ghost king. It was so terrifying that it made one tremble. In the blink of an eye, the pharmacist was right in front of Lin Tian. She swiped her claws at Lin Tian. Lin Tian's Bai Qiu's expression changed drastically. That pharmacist was so terrifying that even airborne realm cultivators would die if they were to come at her. There was no way Lin Tian could block that attack. Bai Qiu panicked. A dim light flickered as she used the core spell of the Sutra of Godlessness. However, at this time, a scorching heat rushed out and spread in an instant. Lin Tian finally finished forming the hand seals. He shook his hands and pulled them horizontally. A mysterious rune jumped out, like a burning miniature sun. It made the pharmacist's corpse tremble slightly. "Seal of refining fire," Lin Tian shouted. He held up his right hand and lowered his head slightly. The rune was stuck to the palm of his right hand and pressed forward. With a whoosh, the rune hit the pill seal on the pharmacist's chest. Arcs! A scream was heard in an instant. The pharmacist's corpse backed away. The inchi all over her body was in extreme pain. Lin Tian took a step back as well. He was slightly surprised. It works, he thought to himself. The seal of refining fire was a secret art from the pharmacopoeia that had just appeared in his mind. It seemed to have sensed the residual pill chi on the pharmacist's corpse. That secret art was much clearer than other arts, so Lin Tian used it. He didn't expect it to hurt the pharmacist. The pill seal on the pharmacist's chest was about to disintegrate. What did you do? What kind of art is that? It seems like it's specifically targeted at the pill seal. Bai Qiu was surprised. Screw it. Let's continue. Lin Tian gritted his teeth. He moved in a flash and formed another seal of refining fire. He pressed it on the pill seal on the pharmacist's chest several times. The pharmacist's screams became clearer. The yin qi all over her body flowed backward, and her pale skin began to crack. The pill seal is destroyed. She's done for. Bai Qiu shouted. Lin Tianyi moved in a flash. This time, he used the seal of 4 symbols to envelop the pharmacist's corpse. The pharmacist roared, but with the pill seal destroyed, she could no longer hold on. Lin Tian was the one who kept beating her. Clang! The sound of a sword rang out. Lin Tian used the weapon manipulation art. Then he summoned the phenomenon in his sea of knowledge and slashed at the pharmacist's corpse. Blood splattered everywhere. Without the pill seal, the pharmacist's corpse became extremely fragile. Her physique was also many times weaker. The final attack, Lin Tian shouted. He formed a series of hand seals. This time, 2 runes jumped out. It was still the seal of refining fire. However, this time, the seal of refining fire was clearly more powerful. Destroy! He moved his hands together and pushed the 2 runes onto the pharmacist's corpse. This attack was like a raging fire pressing on ice. In an instant, the pharmacist's corpse was sent flying with a bang. It exploded into pieces in the distance. Bai Qiu's eyes widened. This pharmacist's corpse is comparable to an immortal ascension cultivator. You killed it. Didn't you say that the pill seal was its Achilles heel? I was just lucky to have destroyed it. Lin Tiandao said. Yes, I forgot. Bai Qiu nodded. In front of them, where the pharmacist's corpse exploded, specks of bloody light flickered on the ground. A blood pill fell to the ground. Lin Tian frowned and took it. This is? The blood pill was as big as the heart of an egg. It was crystal clear and emitted a rich aura of life. A blood pill formed from extremine. It's extremely valuable. Bai Qiu's eyes widened. Lin Tian asked, what's its use? You can use it to cultivate. It can strengthen your qi, blood, and cultivation. At the very least, it can raise your spiritual qi from the 6th level to the 7th level. Bai Qiu said. Lin Tian Wei was stunned. Then he was slightly delighted. This was indeed quite valuable. He put away the blood pill and looked around. There were corpses everywhere in this space. There were corpses of human cultivators, as well as the remains of Yin soldiers and malicious ghosts. Let's go, he said to Bai Qiu. Okay. Bai Qiu was very happy. The 2 of them followed the path they came from and quickly walked out of the ancient tomb. The air outside is still better. Lin Tiandao. Nonsense. Bai Qiu curled his lips. The 2 of them walked to an old forest not far away. Bai Qiu took out a large number of bottles from the stone ring. There were all kinds of pills inside. Let's work together. We'll each take half. Bai Qiu narrowed his eyes and smiled. It's all my work. Lin Tian was speechless. Bai Qiu snorted. In the end, he only asked for 6 void pills that could perfectly raise one's spiritual qi from the 9th level to the void realm. He gave the other 6 void pills and the other baodan to Lin Tian. After all, among these baodan, only the void pills were valuable. Although the other pills were also extraordinary, they were far inferior to the void pills. Lin Tian put away all the pills. After calculating carefully, he realized that he had gained quite a lot this time. At this moment, Bai Qiu jumped over and grabbed his collar. He said fiercely, Tell me, Who are you? You have a strange physique, comprehended the vision of the spiritual sea, cultivated a powerful and magical movement, and even know the weapon control technique. And what's with the rune that destroyed the elixir seal on the alchemist's chest? These are all too strange. You're definitely not an ordinary person. Tell me the truth. It's hard to say. Lin Tian shook his head. What's hard to say? Do you have something to hide? Bai Qiu asked. Yes, that's it. Lin Tian followed Bai Qiu's words. Bai Qiu stared at him. Suddenly, he rolled his eyes and said, Okay, it's fine if you don't tell me. Teach me the weapon control technique. Okay, give me your divine sutra in exchange. Impossible. Then there's no room for discussion. I'll bite you to death. Lin Tian laughed. He performed the weapon control technique and headed toward the Wuji Gate. Several days had passed. After entering the Wuji Gate, Lin Tian returned to the fallen immortal peak and went to the spiritual sea array. He took out a blood pill from the stone ring, paused for a moment, then put it into his mouth and swallowed it. In an instant, an astonishing aura of life surged out, covering his entire body and rushing to every inch of his flesh. Buzz! A faint halo circulated. The four extremities scriptures were activated. True Yuan surged, and his flesh and blood beat rhythmically. Then, gradually, a strong life force began to gather in his spiritual sea, leading the divine sense in his spiritual sea to vibrate. This life force was like a raging fire, using the divine sense as a source of water to refine. It had to be said that this refining effect was amazing. Lin Tian felt that his divine sense was becoming stronger and stronger. In the blink of an eye, 4 hours had passed. 4 hours later, a tyrannical aura rushed out from Lin Tian's body, transforming into a hurricane that swept out. Lin Tian opened his eyes. 2 rays of light flashed, and he felt that the world had become clearer. At this moment, his spiritual sea had reached the 7th level from the 6th level. His divine sense had become stronger, his physique had become stronger, and his perception had become sharper. Huff! Taking a deep breath, Lin Tian didn't stand up. Instead, he closed his eyes and looked at the symbol imprint in his spiritual sea. When he was fighting with the alchemist's corpse, the mysterious iron sword at the bottom of his spiritual sea suddenly released a sky full of symbol imprints. In the end, the symbol imprint condensed into the 2 ancient words medicine codex. It gave birth to a series of strange secret techniques that helped him solve the threat of the alchemist's corpse. At that time, he didn't have time to understand it. Now that he had time, he naturally had to study it in depth. Slightly closing his eyes, Lin Tian carefully scanned the medicine codex. After a while, he was shocked and opened his eyes again. The supreme ancient scripture of the alchemists? Lin Tian's heart palpitated. Chapter 324. Lin Tian was a little surprised. He never thought that the medicine codex was the supreme ancient scripture of the alchemist faction. At the same time, he thought of something else. What was the origin of the mysterious iron sword at the bottom of his consciousness? It was just a ripple, but it turned into the supreme ancient scripture of the alchemist faction. This was really shocking. This sword, Lin Tian was shocked. He tried to communicate with the divine sword at the bottom of his consciousness, but it did not move at all. Lin Tian finally gave up. It seemed that the divine sword was not under his control. Forget it. It's fine as long as it's harmless. He shook his head. Taking a deep breath, Lin Tian closed his eyes again and focused on the medicine codex. He had heard Bai Qiu talk about the various specialties of the alchemist faction, and it had piqued his interest. Now that he had come into contact with the supreme ancient scripture of the alchemist faction by chance, he naturally could not ignore it. In an instant, invisible scripture runes appeared in his sea of consciousness. The medicine codex was a precious ancient scripture of alchemy. It was divided into the pill forging section and the secret technique section. The pill forging section contained endless pill recipes and pill forging techniques, from the lowest first-grade Baodan to the 9th-grade high-grade Baodan. It had all kinds of pill recipes, including healing, dissolving poison, transforming, temporarily increasing one's cultivation, and killing. At the same time, it also recorded the supreme pill recipe that could extend one's life by 100,000 years, called the Emperor Pill. The Emperor Pill can allow a withered chaotic realm expert to live for another 100,000 years. Lin Tian muttered to himself. He had heard of this from Bai Qiu, but seeing it in the medicine codex with his own eyes, he was still very surprised. He held his breath and scanned through the Monarch Pill Alchemy Manual. Then he was speechless. The Alchemy Manual mentioned more than 1,000 kinds of pill forging materials, and almost every one of them was a rare saint artifact that was almost impossible to refine. However, Lin Tian was soon relieved. If this Baodan was easy to refine, it would be abnormal. He shifted his gaze to the secret art section of the medicine encyclopedia. There were many mystical secret arts recorded in it, and the refining fire seal that he had used earlier was one of them. Lin Tian carefully looked through it. He discovered that the several core secret techniques were truly terrifying. They were the 9 nether scattering poison and the pill fire burning the heavens. They were comparable to ancient Empyrean skills. This, Bai Qiu, that girl, also said that the strength of alchemists is not that great. Is that true? Lin Tian was surprised. According to the last few ancient techniques in the secret technique chapter, its might could be said to be extremely terrifying. How could it be weak? Forget it, I'll ask again when I have time. Lin Tian muttered to himself. He continued reading and found that the alchemists and array manipulators were not much different. They also had a clear division of ranks, from weak to strong. They were Tier 1 Alchemist, Tier 2 Alchemist, Tier 3 Alchemist, Tier 4 Alchemist, Tier 5 Alchemist, Tier 6 Alchemist, Tier 7 Alchemist, Tier 8 Alchemist, Tier 9 Alchemist, and Supreme Alchemist who had reached the peak. Alchemists at this level were crowned with the word honorable and were called honorable apothecaries. Honorable apothecary. What a domineering title. Speaking of which, when I was cultivating array manipulation, I seem to have seen the words Array Emperor. Could it be the title of an array manipulator who has reached the peak? Lin Tian muttered to himself. Shaking his head, he continued reading. The cultivation of alchemy is the beginning of pill refining. 2 cauldrons are used as furnaces, and true essence or divine power are used as alchemy fire. After reaching Tier 2 Alchemist, one can begin to cultivate the secret technique of the corresponding rank. Lin Tian continued reading and found that the cultivation of alchemy was similar to that of array manipulators. The cultivation of array manipulators began by finding materials to carve arrays, while the cultivation of alchemy began by finding materials to refine pills. At the later stages of both, one could cultivate extremely terrifying secret techniques with astonishing destructive power. Lin Tian pondered for a moment and finally decided to cultivate alchemy on the side. The reason for this was that the medicine codex was indeed extraordinary. In it, there were various kinds of Baodan that were very magical. However, there were 2 points that attracted Lin Tian the most. First, the medicine codex recorded more than 10 types of alchemy recipes that could extend one's lifespan. The lowest one could extend one's lifespan by 2 years, and the highest one could extend one's lifespan by 100,000 years. This alchemy recipe that could extend one's lifespan was undoubtedly a great shock to him, because lifespan was the most precious thing for a cultivator. Thinking about it, if he could control the ability to refine the Baodan that could extend one's lifespan, in the future, he and his friends and family would be able to live a corresponding second life when their lifespan was about to dry up. How fortunate would that be? The second point was, of course, the few core magical powers recorded in the secret techniques section were already comparable to celestial venerable secret techniques. Celestial venerable secret techniques were enough to frighten the world. Traditional martial arts, the way of array manipulation. So what if I walk one more path now? I'll try to break through this path of alchemy. Lin Tian's eyes glowed. On the path of a cultivator, the most important thing was quality, not complexity. This was because if one learned too many things, they would often not be able to reach the peak of any path. However, Lin Tian did not care so much. He believed in himself. As long as it was something that could be learned and useful, he was willing to learn it. Moreover, he firmly believed that he could reach the peak of all paths. Taking a deep breath, Lin Tian looked at the pill forging section and started learning alchemy recipes from the first-grade inferior ones. After a quick glance, his gaze landed on the simplest fasting pill. Materials: bloodgrass, morning dew, 5 grains. Lin Tian glanced briefly and found that the fasting pill did not require many materials. Finally, he still needed a cauldron for alchemy. These things are relatively simple. They can be exchanged in Wuji Gate. Lin Tian muttered to himself. After thinking for a while, he stood up and walked down the fallen immortal peak toward the Wuji Gate's Hall of True Treasures. The Hall of True Treasures contained various treasures and materials. Wuji Gate's disciples could exchange spiritual coins, their own martial arts techniques, or other items for treasures and materials of corresponding value. Usually, many disciples would come and go. Madman is here. Dodge! Damn it, the people in front, hurry up! Don't block my way! Seeing Lin Tian arrive, the ordinary disciples of the Limitless sect all changed their expressions as if they had seen the plague. Lin Tian was a little speechless, but he was too lazy to say anything. He directly went to the front of a deacon in the True Treasure Hall and used his spirit coins to exchange for what he wanted. Then, he directly walked out of the True Treasure Hall and headed towards the fallen immortal peak. At the foot of the fallen immortal peak, he coincidentally bumped into Bai Qiu. "Why aren't you staying on the mountain? Why are you running around?" Bai Qiu asked. Lin Tian suddenly had the urge to beat this girl up. Should he stay on the mountain? After a pause, he suddenly thought of a question and asked Bai Qiu, "By the way, you said that alchemists are generally not very strong. Why is that? Don't they have their own secret alchemy skills? Why are you asking this?" Bai Qiu was curious. "Just asking." Lin Tian Dao. Bai Qiu made an O sound and didn't think too much about it. He said, "Speaking of which, the Tao of alchemy has been passed down for a very long time. One of the 9 celestial venerables studied it to the extreme and reached the pinnacle of this Tao. He wrote a supreme, ancient Tao of alchemy that contained many secret offensive techniques. However, in the long river of time, many of these techniques were lost. Today, in the Tao of alchemy, most alchemists only know how to refine Dan, one of the 9 celestial lords." Master Apothecary? Lin Tianwei was shocked. "Yes." Bai Qiu nodded. Lin Tian could not help but gasp. Could it be that the medicine codex was written by one of the 9 celestial lords, the Master Apothecary? Why would this thing appear in the mysterious iron sword? For a moment, Lin Tian was stunned. This medicine codex was a complete ancient scripture of the celestial lords? Hey, what's wrong with you?" Bai Qiu shouted. Lin Tian came to his senses and shook his head. Nothing. Although he said so, he was still shocked. He was shocked by the medicine codex and even more shocked by the mysterious iron sword. Bai Qiu followed Lin Tianyi up the fallen immortal peak and took a lot of ordinary Baodan from Lin Tian. Then, she gathered a group of small animals. Speaking of which, why are there so many ordinary animals on the fallen immortal peak? There's not a single one on the Wuji peak. Bai Qiu muttered. Lin Tian glanced around and said, "Maybe it's because the fallen immortal peak was abandoned. After it became an ordinary peak, not many people came here. Naturally, there would be many ordinary animals coming in and out. This is very normal in the mortal world." Bai Qiu blinked and asked, "You know a lot about the mortal world. I haven't been there before. Is it fun?" "It's okay. It's easier and simpler than the cultivation world. There aren't so many cruel battles. If there's a chance, take me there to play." Bai Qiu stayed on the fallen immortal peak until dusk. Then, she left and returned to the Wuji peak. At night, stars filled the sky and specks of silver light sprinkled on the earth. Lin Tian looked up at the sky. It was already very dark. At this time, there were still some small animals jumping in front of the ruined palace. He smiled and walked to the back of the ruined palace. He came to an extremely quiet place. After cleaning up a little, he arranged an open space. With a thought, he took out a 5-inch tall black cauldron from the stone ring. This black cauldron had 2 ears, 3 legs, and a lid. In front of it, there was a hole about an inch in diameter. It was called the forging mouth. If one looked carefully, one could see that there were many small branches on the surface of the forging mouth. These branches were like internal pipes that passed through the walls of the black cauldron. Then, they broke open the inner walls of the black cauldron and created dozens of small holes. These small holes were called flame mouths. Lin Tian carefully read the beginner's book of forging elixir several times. This kind of black cauldron was the simplest kind of medicine furnace. The alchemist put his hand on the forging mouth and urged his true essence or divine power to pass through various internal channels in the cauldron walls. Finally, the true essence or divine power would be released from the dozens of flame mouths in the cauldron to create the alchemy fire used to forge the Baode. After the alchemy fire was produced and stabilized, the alchemist would put in the alchemy materials from the mouth of the cauldron and close the lid. Then, he would control the alchemy fire to refine the pill. Whoosh! Chapter 325. Reading on a mobile phone. Lin Tian placed his hand on the forging mouth of the black cauldron. Immediately, his true yuan flowed through the internal channels. Pin booknet. Chi! With a muffled sound, white smoke rose from the black cauldron. Then, a ball of flame appeared. The flame was pale yellow and rolled like small waves. This is the alchemic fire. However, this alchemic fire is meaningless. It still needs to be controlled with one's mind. Lin Tian muttered. The nascent alchemic fire was only produced by true yuan through the internal structure of the black cauldron. It did not have the ability to refine pills. The alchemist still needed to control and condense it to stabilize the alchemic fire. This step was the first difficult part of the alchemic process. There was no special technique. It was completely dependent on one's talent and countless practice. Lin Tian focused on the interior of the black cauldron. His mind, energy, and spirit were highly concentrated as he gazed at the nascent Dan fire in the cauldron. The vital essence that surged out of his right hand started to have a frequency. Bit by bit, he adjusted the speed of the influx, causing the Dan fire in the black cauldron to jump again and again, becoming more and more solid. This process took about half a quarter of an hour. After half a quarter of an hour, the alchemic fire in the black cauldron suddenly became incomparably quiet. Lin Tian looked at the internal flame from a close distance. He could not feel it burning. Good. A glint flashed across Lin Tian's eyes. According to the medicine encyclopedia, the step of condensing the alchemic fire was considered complete. Taking a deep breath, he recalled the proportions of the various ingredients needed to refine the fasting pill in his mind. After recalling the temperature of the alchemic fire at each stage, he opened the cauldron lid and threw a stalk of blood grass, 30 drops of morning dew, and a bunch of 5 grains into the cauldron. Then he carefully closed the cauldron lid. Open. Chi! Lin Tian was about to start when a sizzling sound was heard. The blood grass that was thrown into the cauldron was directly charred black by the alchemic fire. Many of the 30 drops of morning dew were directly vaporized by the scorching heat of the alchemic fire. Lin Tian was not upset about this. He was very calm. He knew that alchemy was similar to alchemy. It was impossible to succeed in one step. Shaking his head, Lin Tian began forging again. Following this, he failed 13 times in a row. He either burned the blood grass to ashes, completely evaporated the morning dew, or burnt the 5 grains until they were black and smelly. However, these 13 failures were naturally not meaningless. Each of these 13 failures allowed him to accumulate some experience and finally touch the edge of success. Continue. Lin Tian muttered to himself. Lin Tian held his breath and concentrated. Once again, he placed the blood grass, morning dew, and 5 grains into the black cauldron. Buzz! The flames surged and enveloped all the medicinal herbs in the blink of an eye. Lin Tian stared intently at the interior of the cauldron. He placed his right hand on the forging of the black cauldron and flicked his 5 fingers. Instantly, the power of fire surged forth, causing the alchemy fire within the black cauldron to flicker faintly. Back when he was in the first heaven, he had refined a fire crystal. His vital essence had naturally nurtured the power of fire. After 13 failures, Lin Tian discovered that the power of fire in his vital essence could make the alchemy fire more condensed and easier to control. The effects of alchemy were also better. His expression was solemn. His 5 fingers moved rhythmically. With each movement, the alchemy fire flickered. At this moment, the alchemy fire within the black cauldron was divided into several parts. Each part had a different temperature. Under Lin Tian's control, the alchemy fire enveloped the blood grass, morning dew, and 5 grains. It began to burn and refine the essence of each medicinal herb. Controlling the temperature of each part of the alchemy fire within the cauldron was the second difficulty in the alchemy process. After more than 10 failures, Lin Tian finally reached the level where he could freely adjust the temperature of the alchemy fire within the cauldron by relying on the 5 Dragon Divine Flash technique. Gradually, the blood grass was incinerated, the 5 grains melted, and the morning dew danced in midair within the cauldron. Condense! Lin Tian softly spat out a word. His expression became even more solemn. His 5 fingers moved more and more frequently, urging the alchemy fire of different temperatures to envelop the incinerated blood grass and the melted 5 grains. Then, a ball of alchemy fire enveloped the morning dew, turning it into a scorching wave of dew that enveloped the incinerated blood grass and the melted 5 grains. It was also at this moment that Lin Tian's 5 fingers stopped moving. Instead, he urged the true essence of fire to calm the alchemy fire within the black cauldron and control the temperature to the same point. One could see the alchemy fire burning within the cauldron. Beads of sweat gradually appeared on Lin Tian's forehead. His face was slightly pale. Clearly, the alchemy process was very taxing on his essence, qi, and spirit. Throughout the entire night, he had tried more than 10 times. He had only rested once midway. At this moment, his true essence was almost depleted. His essence, qi, and spirit were also severely depleted. He felt like he was about to collapse. Time flew by quickly. Inside the cauldron, several medicinal herbs were fused together. Under the burning of the alchemy fire, waves of churning and gurgling sounds could be heard. Buzz! The alchemy fire burned, sometimes incomparably hot, sometimes as gentle as water. Soon, a quarter of an hour had passed. The several medicinal herbs in the cauldron had completely fused together, turning into a light gray sticky substance the size of a baby's fist. The final step. A trace of light flashed through Lin Tian's eyes. He took a deep breath. The true essence in his left hand pulsed, and he pressed it hard on his right hand. Suddenly, the alchemy fire within the cauldron trembled, as if it had turned into numerous alchemy fire swords. Again and again, the alchemy fire in the center of the cauldron cut open the light, gray, sticky substance, turning it into thumb-sized balls. The final step, the formation of the alchemy core. This step was the final difficulty of the alchemy process. Lin Tian's remaining essence, qi, and spirit were highly concentrated. His control of true essence also became more condensed and stable. After another quarter of an hour, the small balls in the black cauldron became perfectly round. A light gray luster flickered and trembled within the alchemy fire. Lin Tian's eyes flickered, and he stopped. This was a completed fasting pill. His left hand shook, and the lid of the cauldron opened. With a wave of his hand, he took out a dozen fasting pills. The fasting pills had just been taken out of the cauldron, and they were still faintly warm. Lin Tian picked one up, put it in his mouth, chewed it, and swallowed it. A moment later, he couldn't help but nod his head. The first time he refined a fasting pill, the result was beyond his imagination. The quality was much better than the ones in his stone ring. Not bad, Lin Tian muttered to himself. To be honest, he was very happy to reach this level in one night. The sky gradually brightened. Lin Tian put away the fasting pills and the black cauldron. He walked out of the hall and returned to the front. After a night of alchemy, his true essence was severely depleted. He sat cross-legged in front of the hall, facing the morning sun, and cultivated the four extreme scriptures. After a quarter of an hour, he stopped and returned to the hall to rest and recover his true essence. In the blink of an eye, night fell again. At this time, Lin Tian woke up. After tidying himself up, he returned to the hall and continued his alchemy cultivation. Forging pills and refining pills was an extremely rigorous process. He could not allow others to disturb him, or it was extremely likely for him to fail halfway through the refinement. As a result, when he cultivated the way of pills, Lin Tian would always choose to do it late at night. At night, he did not have to worry about being disturbed. He could devote himself to cultivating the way of pills. Taking out the black cauldron and the herbs, Lin Tian took a deep breath and directly immersed himself in alchemy. In the following 10 days, Lin Tian took 6 hours to rest during the day, 6 hours to cultivate the four extreme scriptures, and 6 hours to refine his divine sense. At night, he went to the hall and cultivated alchemy according to the Medicine Encyclopedia's alchemy manual. During these 10 days, he went to the Hall of True Treasures several times to exchange for various materials. He refined the true energy pill, blood-staunching powder, and spirit-concentrating pill. Of course, these were all first-grade Baodan pills. Another day passed. Lin Tian tried to refine a second-grade Baodan. After 3 days, he finally succeeded. After 10 days of alchemy, Lin Tian discovered that the true energy in his body had become much more condensed and vigorous. Moreover, his spiritual energy had also become much stronger. Even his cultivation level had increased. This caused Lin Tianwei to comprehend something. It seemed that no matter which Tao one chose, it would have a beneficial effect on the path of cultivation. The full moon hung high in the sky, sprinkling down silver light. Now, I have barely reached the level of a second-grade alchemist. Lin Tian muttered to himself. It had to be said that the reason he could reach the level of a second-grade alchemist so quickly was because his cultivation level was high. Moreover, he cultivated the art of controlling arrays. To a certain extent, the cultivation of the art of controlling arrays had some similarities with the art of alchemy. Therefore, the starting point of his alchemy training was much higher than the average person. For an average person, it was basically impossible to reach the level of a second-grade alchemist without at least 3 to 5 years. Lin Tian put away the black cauldron herbs, closed his eyes, and began to read the secret techniques of the Medicine Encyclopedia. One of the reasons why he chose to cultivate the art of alchemy was because of the mystical secret techniques in the Medicine Encyclopedia. Seal of flame, seal of burning heart, seal of refining flame. Lin Tian's eyes flashed as he scanned his path. Previously, with the help of the godly sword, he had already mastered the seal of refining flame. Now, he began to comprehend other secret techniques. Just like that, another 2 days passed in the blink of an eye. Early in the morning, Lin Tian faced the morning sun and breathed in and out for a while. Just as he was about to rest, Bai Qiu ran up from the foot of the mountain. "Hey, Limitless Immortal School will have an honorary alchemist elder concocting pills in public today." Honorary alchemist? Publicly refining pills? Lin Tian was stunned. Bai Qiu said, "The 10 great sects all have honorary alchemists. They are invited from some alchemist families. The Limitless sect naturally has one as well. Every year, they invite these alchemists to publicly refine pills to broaden the knowledge of their disciples." There are alchemist families in the second heaven? Lin Tian was stunned. He had not paid much attention to this before. Now that he heard this, he was slightly curious. Of course there are. The most powerful alchemist families in this heaven are comparable to the 10 great sects, or even more powerful, Bai Qiu said. These alchemist families not only know how to refine pills, but also pass down many offensive secret techniques in the art of alchemy. Their strength and wealth are astonishing. I equals FIPS, LAS equals AGS, AGS. Chapter 326. Lin Tian was a little surprised that there was a family of alchemists in this realm, which was comparable to the top 10 sects, or even stronger. In the first heaven, there was only the Formation Manipulator Guild and the 4 great sections. Compared to the second heaven, there was simply too much of a difference. The second heaven was truly a resplendent place filled with dazzling experts. What are you thinking about? Are you going or not? Bai Chio waved his hand in front of Lin Tian's eyes. Lin Tian came back to his senses and nodded. Let's go and have a look. He had just embarked on the path of alchemist. Although he had barely reached the level of a second-grade alchemist, he still had little experience in alchemy. Now that he could see an alchemist from a family of alchemists, he might be able to get some inspiration. Therefore, he was willing to go and have a look. After all, he wouldn't lose anything. Immediately, the two walked down the fallen immortal peak and soon came to a crowded place. This place was very spacious. At the front was a gray stone platform that could accommodate dozens of people. On the platform was a green cauldron. The cauldron was more than 10 inches tall. Obviously, it was more advanced than the black cauldron Lin Tian used before. I heard that Senior Shen Hanyuan will make 3 cauldrons of Baodan in a row this time. 3 cauldrons? Didn't he make 1 cauldron in the past? This time it might be Gao Xinxing. I heard that there's a genius alchemist in Senior Shen's family. He's only 17 years old, and he's about to reach the level of a second-grade alchemist after only 2 years of studying alchemy. What? Senior Shen is 50 years old this year. He's been practicing alchemy for decades, and it's said that he's only reached the level of a third-grade alchemist. That guy is about to reach the level of a second-grade alchemist after only 2 years? Is it really that exaggerated? This is a genius. It's useless to be surprised. The crowd was discussing. Lin Tian followed by Chio to the front. Shen Hanyuan, an honorary alchemist elder of Wuji Gate. He's a third-grade alchemist, and his cultivation is at the 8th level of the spiritual sea. He's much stronger than ordinary cultivators. Bai Chio said, Shen Hanyuan was invited by Wuji Gate from the Shen family, which is one of the 3 alchemist families. They pay the Shen family a very high salary every year. The 3 alchemist families? Which 3 aristocratic families are they? Lin Tian asked. He had gone to the scripture depository to look at the distribution of forces in the second heaven, but because he was in a hurry, he did not see the alchemist aristocratic family. The Shen family, the Chao family, and the Zhuang family are all very powerful. To a certain extent, they are much more powerful than the 10 great sections. Bai Chio said, much stronger than the 10 great sects? Lin Tian was slightly surprised. How do these 3 families compare to your Bai family? Don't ask such a childish question. There is simply no comparison. Compared to the ancient aristocratic families, the strength of these families is no different from caterpillars. They are incomparably weak. Bai Chio said, the reason why I said these 3 alchemist clans are stronger than the 10 great sects is because the alchemist clans maintain excellent relations with the other great sections. When necessary, they can invite many experts, including the demon experts. This is something that the 10 great sects can't compare to. However, it is undoubtedly a fool's dream to compare with the families that have been passed down since ancient times. Understood. Lin Tian nodded. The 2 of them walked forward together. In Bai Chio's words, the closer they stood, the clearer they could see. Many disciples were talking about it. When they saw Lin Tian and Bai Chio walking over, they all changed their expressions. That madman from the fallen angel peak is here. What? Get out of the way. Someone's expression changed. In an instant, a path was opened in front of them. Although Lin Tian had just entered the Wuji Gate, he had caused a huge commotion. He had detained a group of Muyang Feng's disciples to work for the fallen angel peak. He had defeated the strongest airborne realm cultivator in Muyang Feng, Zheng Yi. After that, he was personally invited by the master of the Wuji Peak to cultivate at the Wuji Peak. However, Lin Tian had declined. This undoubtedly made Lin Tian's reputation spread throughout the entire Wuji Gate. There were not many people in Wuji Gate who did not know about Lin Tian. Bai Chio laughed. Look, everyone is afraid of you. I told you that you're the fiercest person, and you won't admit it. Lin Tian couldn't be bothered with her as he continued to walk forward. The crowd only breathed a sigh of relief when the 2 of them were far away. The sun was shining brightly in the sky. More and more disciples of the Wuji Gate gathered around the place, all of them talking about it. Every year, many disciples of the Wuji Gate would come to watch the alchemist from the alchemist family perform alchemy in public. Soon, an hour had passed. "He's here!" Suddenly someone shouted. On the alchemy platform in front of them, a young man in luxurious clothes walked out. He looked very young and very handsome. This is that genius alchemist from Senior Shun's lineage. He followed Senior Shun into the Wuji Gate yesterday. Is he really that genius alchemist? Nonsense. I saw it with my own eyes. The crowd was in an uproar. The disciples of the Wuji Gate stared at the young man in luxurious clothes with surprise. Some female cultivators even looked infatuated, as if they could not wait to rush up and hug the young man in luxurious clothes. This guy is actually at the early stage of the soul sense realm. He's really powerful, Bai Qiu said. Lin Tian glanced at them and did not say anything. The young man in luxurious clothes glanced at the crowd. When he saw Bai Qiu, his face suddenly showed a little surprise, but it was only for a moment. The young man in luxurious clothes withdrew his gaze and smiled at the crowd, saying, "I'm Yu. It's my first time in your sect. Please give me some advice." After a pause, the young man in luxurious clothes said, "My uncle is preparing for the alchemy later. So he ordered me to come out first to refine a furnace of true elemental pills, so that you won't have to wait under the scorching sun." "Thank you, young Master Shin," someone said politely. Yu smiled and ordered some people to bring some herbs for refining true elemental pills. Then, he came to the green medicine furnace. "Start the fire," Yu said. Everyone watched as a purple alchemy fire appeared within the green cauldron. After that, Yu quickly threw all kinds of medicinal ingredients into the green cauldron, causing the alchemy fire to jump up and down. It was obvious that he was controlling the temperature of the alchemy fire. Gradually, green smoke curled up, and a strange fragrance spread out. Yu stood in front of the furnace and put one hand on the furnace's forging mouth. True elemental energy flowed into the furnace in an orderly manner. What a skillful alchemy technique! The so-called alchemy genius is really not ordinary. Very powerful, many people exclaimed. Lin Tian looked at Yu's alchemy and had to admit that Yu's alchemy technique was very skillful. However, it could only be regarded as skillful. It did not have any impact on him. Even if he really wanted to compare, this Yu was a lot worse than him. At least in the process of controlling the alchemy fire with true elemental energy, Yu was far inferior to him. After all, it's only at the first grade. Lin Tian muttered to himself in his heart. He did not leave and still waited here. He wanted to see the third-grade alchemist Shun Hongyuan's alchemy. Time passed, and soon half an hour had passed. Yu stood up and stopped controlling the alchemy fire in the furnace. He stood up and opened the lid. Immediately, a trace of alchemy fragrance floated out. Yu took out the true elemental energy pills in the furnace. There were more than 10 of them, and each of them was bright and colorful. Obviously, they were not ordinary. "I've embarrassed myself." Yu smiled. "Young Master Shun, you must be joking. If this is considered embarrassing, then we have no face to live." "Yes, young Master Shun, you are too modest." "Yes." Many people complimented. Yu smiled and thanked them. His eyes moved to Bai Qiu and then fell on Lin Tian beside Bai Qiu. He smiled and said, "Brother, what do you think of my alchemy?" Lin Tian did not expect that Yu would ask him alone. He did not think much and said casually, "It's okay." Yu's smile suddenly stiffened. "It's okay?" Yu saw that Lin Tian and Bai Qiu were standing close to each other. They seemed to be very close, so he deliberately asked Lin Tian how his alchemy skills were. He wanted to gain some attention in front of the beauty. However, he did not expect that Lin Tianji would answer lightly, "It's okay." This made him a little unhappy. He fixed his eyes on Lin Tian. Yu's expression changed when he saw it. "Alchemy chi?" Staring at Lin Tian, Yu was slightly surprised. However, he soon smiled meaningfully and said, "I didn't expect that you have dabbled in alchemy." "Interesting, very interesting." Lin Tian frowned. These days, he had been practicing the medicine encyclopedia, forging pills, and refining medicine. Naturally, his body had a special alchemy chi. He did not wash it off before coming here. He did not expect that Yu would notice it. This made him slightly nervous. He secretly blamed himself for not being cautious enough. He glanced at Yu and did not say anything. You have alchemy chi. You have been forging Baodan these days? I think your alchemy skills must be extraordinary. Yu narrowed his eyes. Lin Tian heard the provocation in Yu's words. He was slightly unhappy and said, So what if I am? So what if I am not? At this place, the people of Wuji Gate were surprised. They all stared at Lin Tian in surprise. This madman also cultivates alchemy? This can't be. I've never heard of it. Everyone was shocked. Bai Qiu was surprised. She grabbed Lin Tian and asked, You also cultivate alchemy? What are you talking about? Lin Tian wanted to hit her. Yu narrowed his eyes and stared at Lin Tian. I really didn't expect to meet a fellow alchemist in Wuji Gate. It's really a blessing. As he spoke, Yu said with a smile, I see that you are extraordinary, and your alchemy skills should not be weak. At this time, I would like to compare notes with you. I hope you will not hesitate to teach me. Lin Tian glanced at Yu. I'm not interested, and I don't want to teach you. Many people around were moved. They secretly thought that Lin Tian was really bold. He dared to talk to the descendant of an alchemist family like this. Yu's face suddenly darkened. Suddenly, he laughed, and his eyes fell on Bai Qiu beside Lin Tian. He said with a smile, Since you don't want to compete with me, I'll take it that you admit defeat. Since you admit defeat, there should be a price for admitting defeat. Can you let the girl beside you do me the honor and take you to Wuji Gate? Lin Tian was stunned, and then he laughed. Okay, as long as she is willing, you can let her take you to the 10 Heavens domain. I won't have the slightest objection. He finally understood that Yu had his eyes set on Bai Qiu. He really didn't know what to say. He actually dared to set his sights on the princess of an ancient family. He was really courting death. Chapter 327. Reading on mobile phone, seeing Lin Tian approaching him. Yu's face darkened. What are you doing? What am I doing? Did you forget about the bet after you lost? Lin Tian Dao. Pin. Book. Net. His steps were steady and unhurried as he walked toward Yu. Under the stone platform, everyone's expression changed. Is he really going to do it? He's the descendant of an alchemist family. Many people's expressions changed. Bai Qiu didn't care at all. Instead, he shouted, Beat him up! Yu said with a sullen face. Ordinary people can't distinguish the quality of Baodan. Only high-level alchemists can. You're really good at finding excuses. Lin Tianling smiled. There was still alchemy fire in the cyan cauldron. He shook his hand and threw out 2 vital essence pills. Without vital essence to control the alchemy fire, the inferior Baodan will melt before the superior Baodan. Your elders should have told you this. Let's see whose vital essence pill melts first. Hearing Lin Tian's words, everyone looked at the cyan cauldron. Soon, 10 breaths passed. One of the Baodan began to melt, while the other Baodan was intact. That's the melted true elemental Dan is the true elemental Dan forged by Yu. Indeed, many people were moved. This time, Yu's expression really changed. He gritted his teeth, but couldn't say a word. Lin Tian didn't talk nonsense and went straight to him. Your Excellency, give me face and let this matter go. I owe you a favor. Yu whispered. Face? What face do you have? Lin Tian said disdainfully. He stepped forward and came to Yu in an instant. He raised his hand and slapped Yu. With a loud slap, Yu was sent flying. He spat out a mouthful of blood. Young Master Shun. Someone's expression changed. It was the first time that Yu had come to the Wuji Gate. Along with Shun Hongyuan, there were naturally masters of the Shun family following them. At this moment, seeing Yu being slapped and sent flying, the faces of these masters of the Shun family changed greatly. Sir, please stop. A master from the Shun family blocked the way. Lin Tian's expression did not change. Get out of the way. Sir, you've already made a move once. Don't go too far. Our Shin family has been passed down for many years. Few people dare to go against us. Sir, it's better to know when to stop. That's enough. The members of the Shun family said indifferently. Lin Tianling smiled. Are you threatening me? Not really. I'm just stating a fact. One of them said. Lin Tianyi smiled. He didn't say anything more and walked forward step by step. Sir, don't refuse a toast. Pa. The sound of a slap rang out. The master from the Shin family at the front was directly slapped off the stone platform and let out a scream. Seeing this, the other people's expressions changed. How dare you? You're courting death. They were furious. Get out of my way. Lin Tian's footsteps were steady. He waved his right hand, and a wild sword wind swept out, sweeping the people in front of him away. Bang, bang, bang. Several people fell to the side, and all of them howled miserably. This madman is still so unscrupulous. The people from the alchemist family were slapped away by him. He's too arrogant. Many people's hearts palpitated. Many people thought about it. Even if they had Lin Tian's strength, they would absolutely not dare to do such a thing. After all, if they did so, it would be equivalent to offending an alchemist family. It could possibly bring about great trouble. Lin Tian approached Shin Chenyu and clenched his right hand. 2 more slaps, he said lightly. Shin Chenyu was suddenly angry and said coldly, Don't go too far. With a bang, Shin Chenyu's body emitted a strong aura, and his sea of consciousness realm cultivation was fully displayed. You dare to show off in front of me with such strength? Lin Tian was disdainful. Facing Shin Chenyu, he slapped directly, shattering the fluctuation of true essence outside his body, and slapped him away again. Lin Tian added a little more strength for the second slap, and suddenly Shin Chenyu screamed. Last slap. Lin Tian on Dao. At this moment, an old man came from afar. After seeing this scene, his face suddenly darkened. With a swish, the old man came to the stone platform and appeared next to Shin Chenyu. Senior Shun Honyuan, this is bad. Many people were shocked. Shin Honyuan landed next to Shin Chenyu and helped Shin Chenyu up. His face was very gloomy. What's going on? Uncle! Shin Chenyu shouted and stared at Lin Tian with some hatred. Shin Honyuan followed Shin Chenyu's gaze and stared at Lin Tian with a cold expression. Did you do it? Yes. Lin Tian didn't mind at all and added, There's one last slap left. Please move aside. Hearing this, there was a sudden sound of gasping at the scene. This guy? Senior Shin Honyuan is here. He is the honorary alchemist elder of our sect. How dare this guy talk like this? Many people were shocked. At this time, among the masters of the Shin family who were slapped away by Lin Tian, someone came to Shin Honyuan and whispered a few words. Suddenly, Shin Hongyuan's face froze, and he looked at Shin Chenyu. Is there such a thing? An ordinary disciple of the Wuji Gate was better than the genius alchemist of the Shun family in terms of alchemy. This made Shin Honyuan slightly shocked. Shin Chenyu's face was ugly, but he couldn't refute. He gritted his teeth and said, yes. After getting a positive answer, Shin Honyuan was even more surprised. The expression of staring at Lin Tian suddenly changed. Lin Tian's steps were gentle as he walked forward. Senior, please step aside. Your genius alchemist still needs a slap from me, he said. He enunciated the words genius alchemist very loudly, which made Shin Chenyu's face even more ugly. Shin Hongyuan's face darkened again. Young man, let's forget about this. Don't make trouble. Hearing this, Lin Tian couldn't help but smile. Make trouble? His gaze landed on Shin Chenyu, and he said, he thinks that she and I are lovers, so he forced me to compete with him in alchemy under such circumstances, wanting to take her away from me. I only told him to lose, so he would receive 3 slaps from me. Now he is lost, so he should receive 3 slaps from me. You say that I'm making trouble? Hearing Lin Tian's words, everyone under the stone platform was surprised. Then they started to talk about it. I'm only worth 3 slaps. Bai Qiu was angry. Hearing Lin Tian's words, Shen Qinyu was ashamed and angry. He clenched his fists tightly. Shen Hongyuan's eyes narrowed. He said in a low voice, "No matter what, you have already hit him twice. This matter is over." Over? You make it sound so easy. Lin Tianling smiled. After saying this, he didn't say anything else and directly walked forward. Shen Hongyuan said coldly, "Young man, don't go too far. You are too arrogant." "You just realized that I am arrogant?" Lin Tianling snorted. He didn't stop. He directly pressed forward, avoided Shen Hongyuan's palm, and flashed in front of Shen Qinyu. Shen Qinyu's expression changed. "You slap." This slap was even louder. It sent Shen Qinyu flying more than 10 meters away. A few broken teeth fell in the air. He really slapped him. He actually slapped Shen Hongyuan's nephew in front of him. Oh my God! This guy is really amazing. Everyone sucked in a cold breath. Shen Hongyuan was from a family of alchemists. He was invited by Wuji Gate at a great cost. Lin Tian actually slapped Shen Hongyuan's nephew in front of him. This made all the disciples of Wuji Gate tremble in fear. They secretly thought that Lin Tian was too arrogant. Shen Qinyu fell in the distance. Several masters of the Shun family hurried over, but they saw that Shen Qinyu had already fainted. Shen Hongyuan naturally saw it too. His face became extremely gloomy. "You're very good," Shen Hongyuan said coldly. "There are many people who said that. You're not the only one." Lin Tian Dao. After saying that, he turned around and left. With a swoosh, Shen Hongyuan blocked in front of Lin Tian and said with a cold expression, "Since you could defeat Qinyu in terms of core tempering, I'm sure you're not lacking in alchemy's secret arts. This old man is untalented, but I'm itching to learn from you." As he spoke, Shen Hongyuan didn't give Lin Tian a chance to refute. He directly raised his hand to form a seal, and a blazing alchemy fire appeared out of thin air. The temperature of the alchemy fire was so high that the disciples of Wuji's sect couldn't help but tremble even though they were far away. "Old bastard!" Bai Qiu cursed. Everyone knew that in the second level of the Celestial Realm, only the Shun clan and the other two alchemist clans possessed offensive secret techniques of the Tao of Alchemy. Now, Shen Hongyuan actually wanted Lin Tian to compete in secret techniques of the Tao of Alchemy with him. Moreover, he didn't give Lin Tian any chance to react. Not only her, but some of the other Wuji Gate disciples also changed their expressions. "Isn't this bullying?" "That's right. It's already very rare for that madman to be able to refine an alchemy pill. How could he possibly know a lost alchemy secret technique?" Someone muttered softly. On the stone, Shen Hongyuan's expression was cold. He didn't care at all. He raised his hand and waved his alchemy fire, pressing it toward Lin Tian. "Young man, please advise me," Shen Hongyuan said coldly. Lin Tian's expression also darkened, and a cold light flashed across his eyes. "Very well, I'll give you some advice," he said coldly. Since he had already exposed his alchemy technique, it was no big deal to use his alchemy attack technique. Most importantly, Shen Hongyuan made him very uncomfortable. He stepped forward and changed his hand seals. Soon, a mysterious rune intertwined with strange light appeared. It shone brightly, and suddenly, everyone's eyes widened. It was one of the alchemy attack techniques, the flame seal. He pushed his right hand, and the flame seal appeared horizontally, colliding with Shen Hongyuan's alchemy fire. With a sizzle, Shen Hongyuan's alchemy fire was annihilated in an instant. Annihilating alchemy fire? You? This is the legendary flame seal? Shen Hongyuan's expression changed. Lin Tian's right hand did not slow down, and it steadily pressed on Shen Hongyuan's chest. "I'll return your alchemy fire to you," Lin Tianling said. In an instant, blazing alchemy fire rushed out of the seal, and in the blink of an eye, it burned Shen Hongyuan's entire body. "Ah!" Shen Hongyuan screamed, almost turning into a human-shaped torch. Lin Tian's eyes were cold. In a flash, he came in front of Shen Hongyuan and raised his leg to kick him. "Shame on you, get down." With a bang, Shen Hongyuan fell off the stone platform, and he screamed even more miserably. "I equals Phipps, Las equals AGS, AGS. Chapter 328. Reading on a mobile phone, Shin Han-yuan fell off the stone platform, screaming in pain. His whole body was covered in alchemic fire, which made everyone tremble in fear. Please search product percent book percent yin yin net to see the most complete novels. Elder Shun, a master from the Shun family, shouted and rushed up. The people from Wuji Gate stared at Lin Tian with their eyes wide open. That mysterious rune just now, is it alchemy? It seems to be. This? He actually really knows the offensive secret art of the Tao of alchemy? Many people were shocked. Bai Chio's beautiful big eyes were wide open, staring at Lin Tian as if she was looking at a rare treasure. Lin Tian walked down the stone platform with a calm expression. Stop. You heard our alchemist, and you want to leave just like that? Stay. The masters from the Shin family looked unfriendly. Lin Tian's pace and expression didn't change. He waved his right hand, creating a sword wind that sent them flying. Bang! 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 Several people were sent tumbling back 50 feet away. This guy really dares to attack. Someone gasped. At this moment, a violent surge of true essence rushed up. Not far away, Shin Han-yuan shook off the alchemic fire outside his body. With a whoosh, a cold light slashed at Lin Tian. Lin Tian tilted his head and easily dodged it. You still want to learn? Shin Han-yuan stared at Lin Tian with a cold light in his eyes. But more than that, he was shocked. You used a flame seal just now. Who taught you this lost alchemy? Shin Han-yuan was very surprised. He originally thought that Lin Tian only knew how to refine pills. In alchemy, his nephew had lost to Lin Tian and had been slapped 3 times by Lin Tian. Shin Han-yuan wanted to use a secret alchemy technique to retaliate. He believed that it was impossible for Lin Tian to know any secret alchemy techniques. Such techniques could only be passed down by their 3 alchemist families. However, what he never expected was that not only did Lin Tian know how to refine pills, he also knew how to use secret techniques in the Tao of alchemy, and the pill technique he used was actually the long-lost flame seal. This technique was said to be able to devour all flames, and could even push back the flames that were devoured. None of the 3 great alchemy families had this technique, and it was only mentioned in secret manuals. But who would have thought that they would actually see it on an ordinary disciple of the limitless immortal school today? Elder, a friendly reminder, you'd better tidy up your appearance first. Lin Tian on Dao. Shin Han-yuan was slightly startled, and then her expression changed. Because his body was covered by the pill fire, his hair was already charred black, and she was almost bald. Moreover, her clothes had been burnt to the point that not a single strand of hair was left, and her skin was also burned to a large extent. It could even be said to be very ugly, causing many of the female disciples of the limitless immortal sect to turn their faces away. Suddenly, Shin Hong-yuan's face was livid and cold. He quickly took out a gray robe from the stone ring and covered himself. Who taught you alchemy? Shin Hong-yuan asked Lin Tian. At this time, staring at Lin Tian, Shin Hong-yuan's eyes were full of light. Lin Tian knew the lost flame seal, and it was very likely that he also knew other alchemy techniques. This was undoubtedly a very shocking thing for an alchemist family. Lin Tian didn't answer and walked away directly. Stop! With a swoosh, Shin Han-yuan flashed and stopped in front of Lin Tian. Who taught you alchemy? Lin Tian's face darkened. If you're done, get out of my sight. I'm asking you a question, Shin Han-yuan said in a deep voice. Lin Tianling stared at Shin Han-yuan coldly. Do I have to answer you? I'll say it again. Get out of my sight. Young man, don't be too angry. I'm now. Bang! Lin Tian raised his leg and directly kicked Shin Hong-yuan's abdomen, which immediately sent Shin Hong-yuan flying more than 30 feet away. Seeing this scene, the disciples of the limitless sect all sucked in a cold breath, only to feel their stomachs ache. This is the honorary alchemist elder of our sect. This guy is actually so unscrupulous. Some people's hearts palpitated. After kicking Shin Han-yuan away, Lin Tianyi didn't say a word and directly walked toward the fallen immortal peak. Bai Qiu blinked and quickly chased after him. In the blink of an eye, the two of them were far away, leaving a group of people standing in the same place, dumbfounded. Shen Hongyuan stood up from afar and stared at Lin Tian's back. He was shocked and angry, and his old face was very gloomy. Damn it! After cursing in a low voice, Shen Hongyuan flicked his sleeve, grabbed Shen Qinyu, and left the place. Suddenly, the other disciples of Wuji's sect were stunned. This public alchemy? Alchemy my ass. If it were you, would you still be in the mood to make alchemy for others? Speaking of which, what's wrong with that madman? His combat strength is so strong that he defeated Miang Feng's strongest disciple, Jing Yi, who was in the airborne realm. I didn't expect that he also practiced alchemy. Not only is he good at alchemy, but he also mastered offensive alchemy techniques. He defeated a third-grade alchemist from an alchemist family with alchemy techniques. This is simply unimaginable. But this guy is too bold. How dare he do this to someone from an alchemist family? Isn't he afraid of being punished by the sect? There was a lot of discussion. Lin Tian left the alchemy stone platform and was about to reach the foot of the fallen fairy peak. Wait for me! Bai Qiu chased after him and soon caught up with Lin Tian. Lin Tian glanced at her. Are you satisfied now? Yes, I am. Bai Qiu smiled very sweetly. I'm not satisfied. Lin Tian Dao. Originally, he wanted to see a third-grade alchemist perform alchemy, but he didn't expect to end up like this, with nothing to show for it. Don't be angry. That Shen Qinyu provoked you like that, so you should be angry with him. Think about it. If we were really lovers and he wanted to steal your future wife, would you tolerate this kind of thing? You could just kill him directly. Bai Qiu blinked her big eyes. Unfortunately, we don't have that kind of relationship. Lin Tian Dao. Lin Tian glanced at Bai Qiu and didn't bother to say anything more. Bai Qiu followed beside him, looking at him with her big eyes, a very serious expression on her face. Lin Tian didn't say anything and just walked to the fallen fairy peak. Seeing that Lin Tian didn't say anything, Bai Qiu couldn't help but say, Hey, you guy, not only do you really know alchemy and alchemy, but you also know alchemy attack secret techniques. That's too weird. Alchemy and alchemy aside, it's said that only the heirs of the 3 alchemist clans know alchemy's secret techniques. Where did you learn them? Give me the Divine Sutra in exchange, and I'll tell you. Lin Tiandao. Bai Qiu was angry. I'll go back to the Wuji Peak and go, in a seclusion, to break through to the 9th level of the spiritual sea, then use the Imperial Void Pill to reach the airborne realm. Bai Qiu ran right after saying that. Lin Tian shook his head. He was already close to the fallen fairy peak, so he went straight up. It was still early, and a bright sun hung high in the sky, shining on the ground. When Lin Tian went up to the fallen fairy peak, the little ones were bathing in the sun in front of the ruined hall. Seeing that Lin Tian had returned, they immediately swarmed up. Heh! Lin Tian chuckled and took out some ordinary baodan to feed the little ones. He had been staying at the fallen fairy peak for some time. It was indeed quite interesting to have a group of little ones to accompany him after cultivating alone. After a short pause, he entered the consciousness sea array on the fallen fairy peak and began to cultivate. Buzz! The 4 extreme scriptures were activated, and soon his body emitted a thick silver light. At the same time, in a pavilion on the other side of Wuji Gate. Uncle, are you serious? He actually knows the long-lost flame seal? Shen Qinyu was shocked. Do you think I'm wrong? Shen Hongyuan said in a deep voice. Shen Qinyu's body trembled, and he said, If that's the case, uncle, we must not let him go. You don't have to say that. Staring out of the window, Shen Hongyuan's eyes were extremely cold, and there was a faint light flickering in them. Lin Tian actually possessed a secret technique in the Tao of Pills that even his Chun clan didn't possess, and this could be said to have an extremely great impact on him. He guessed that Lin Tian might possess other secret techniques in the Tao of Pills. Moreover, it might even be a legendary pill technique. If he was able to obtain these pill techniques, then the Chun clan's strength would undoubtedly be able to improve a step further in a short period of time, and it might even increase by a few times. Find a chance to expel him from the Wuji Gate. Then, suppress him in the Shin family and take all his alchemy techniques. Shin Chenyu said, after I take his alchemy techniques, I will make him suffer. Shin Chenyu said coldly. On this day, he was defeated by Lin Tian in front of everyone in the Wuji Gate. In the end, he was slapped 3 times by Lin Tian. As a genius alchemist, he lost all his face, which made him hate Lin Tian very much. Think about how to expel him from the Wuji Gate first, Shin Hongyuan said coldly. Today, Lin Tian slapped Shin Chenyu and offended him. It could have been an opportunity, but unfortunately, it was Shin Chenyu who provoked Lin Tian first and made a fair bet with Lin Tian. After losing the bet, he was slapped 3 times by Lin Tian. Lin Tian did nothing wrong. Shin Honyuan himself also asked to compete with Lin Tian in alchemy techniques, but he was defeated. Naturally, he had no reason to sue Lin Tian to the Wuji Gate for this. There will always be opportunities. If there is none, we will create our own opportunities. Shin Honyuan said to himself coldly. On the fallen immortal peak, Lin Tian was sitting cross-legged in the formation of his sea of consciousness. The light between his eyebrows was shining, and he was refining his divine sense little by little. Not long ago, he reached the 7th level of his sea of consciousness with a blood pill in the corpse of the alchemist. His sea of consciousness had become extremely vast, and the white lotus in his sea of consciousness had also grown stronger. The halo on the white lotus seemed to be a little more hazy, which was very magical. I have to reach the 9th level of the sea of consciousness as soon as possible, and then break into the airborne realm with the help of the airborne pill, Lin Tian said to himself. After reaching the airborne realm, one could fly freely. For cultivators, this was undoubtedly a great temptation. Buzz! A faint halo lingered around his body. Lin Tian focused on refining his divine sense. Soon it was night. After a night's rest, Lin Tian came to the formation of his sea of consciousness again in the morning after facing the morning sun. The 4 extremes meridians were running, and a faint light appeared around his body again. Soon, 2 hours passed. The sun was shining, and the sky was as hot as ever. On this day, 9 aggressive middle-aged men came to the Wuji Gate. They were the elders of the other 9 sects, and all of them were at the peak of the airborne realm. Among the 9 middle-aged men, one of them was followed by a young man. He was the outstanding disciple of the Shinga Taoism who had escaped from the ancient tomb of the alchemist not long ago. I equals FIPS, LAS equals AGS, AGS. Chapter 329. Of the 10 sects in the second heaven, 9 of them came to Wuji Gate together, which naturally attracted the attention of the Wuji Gate. Many peak masters and elders came out to greet them. After that, the reason why the 9 of them came to the Limitless Immortal sect shocked everyone in the Limitless Immortal sect. They were actually here for the fallen Immortal Peak's Lin Tian. Lin Tian had killed 8 of the great sect's outstanding disciples. What a vile creature! We can't let him live! Muyang Feng said coldly. The Wuji Peak master frowned, and his eyes flickered. Call Lin Tian over first and ask him clearly. Why go through so much trouble? Just go to the fallen angel peak and suppress that vile creature. Muyang Feng said coldly. On the fallen angel peak, Lin Tian sat cross-legged in the formation of his sea of consciousness. There were spots of light between his eyebrows, and there were traces of silver light outside his body. Buzz! The 4 extremity scriptures were activated, using the formation of his sea of consciousness to temper his divine sense. At the same time, his flesh and bones were also tempered. With the divine refining rune between his eyebrows, Lin Tian could feel that the tempering speed of his divine sense was a little faster. After all, it's an incomplete formation of the sea of consciousness. If it was a complete formation, the effect should be several times better. Lin Tian muttered to himself. He was indeed a little regretful about this. However, thinking that the fallen angel peak still had a big secret, he felt a little better. What is in this mountain? I must put in some effort to find out later. He thought to himself. To be able to make the mysterious iron sword in his sea of consciousness react, there was no doubt that the secret on the fallen angel peak was very shocking. Perhaps it really was the divine art known as the battle saint technique. He took a deep breath, calmed his mind, and focused on cultivation again. At this moment, more than a dozen powerful auras appeared on the fallen angel peak, causing his expression to change slightly. Opening his eyes and walking out of the formation of his sea of consciousness, Lin Tian came to the front of the ruined hall. Looking around at this moment, many middle-aged people came up from the fallen angel peak. The aura they emitted was very powerful, and they were all at the peak of the airborne realm. Among these people, he recognized Wuji Peak Master, Myongfeng Peak Master, and another young man. "It's you." His eyes narrowed slightly. This young man was the disciple of the true martial religion who had wanted to kill him and steal the Baodan's precious technique in the ancient alchemist tomb not long ago. "Lin Tian, do you know your crime?" A cold voice sounded, and a huge force fell on Lin Tian. Muyang Feng stared coldly at Lin Tian. "Confess? What crime have I committed?" Lin Tian's face darkened. Muyang Feng was at the pinnacle of the Zephyr realm, and his might was extremely strong, which made him feel a little uncomfortable. "What crime?" Muyang Feng's face was cold, and his eyes were even colder. He scolded, "Our 10 great sects are united, but in order to fight for the Baodan, you cruelly killed the outstanding disciples of 8 great sects. You really have the heart of a devil. How dare you ask what crime you have committed? How could my Wuji Gate accept such an evil creature like you?" Lin Tian's eyes narrowed. He finally understood why everyone had come to the fallen immortal peak. He looked at the young man from the true martial religion, and then at Muyang Feng Peak Master. "Master Muyang Feng, have you asked clearly? Why do you need to ask more? You should be punished for killing your fellow Taoists," Muyang Feng Peak Master said. Lin Tian smiled and pointed at the disciple of the Shinga Taoism Peak Master. "You didn't ask the whole story, and you rushed to convict me based on the result. Is it because I defeated your useless disciple a few days ago and made you feel ashamed? You have no respect for your elders. How dare you?" Muyang Feng Peak Master shouted. He didn't expect Lin Tian's words to be so sharp that he dared to mock him. "Elders?" Lin Tian disdained. "Are you worthy of being my elder? Are you worthy of my respect?" Muyang Feng Peak Master's face was even colder. He shouted directly, "Come on, suppress him, destroy his cultivation, and expel him from the limitless sect." Yes, some deacons of the main peak followed the crowd. These people were all at the peak of the Soul Sensei. 7 of them stepped toward Lin Tian. They all showed their swords and sabers, which were shining with cold light. "Get lost!" Lin Tian Lung shouted. He shook his right hand, and a sword wind swept out, directly sending the 7 people flying. Muyang Feng Peak Master was very powerful, but he was not afraid and did not give him face at all. This person had tried to attack him several times. Now, he even wanted to convict him without asking for the truth and ordered people to destroy his cultivation. He couldn't compromise in front of this person. He didn't live a second life to be a coward. Sometimes, in his opinion, it was useless and cowardly to say that a man could bend and stand tall. A real man should do whatever he wanted in the world. As long as he was in the right, he could cut through everything. Even if he died, he didn't have to fear anyone. He tilted his head and looked at the young man of Shinga Taoism. He sneered and said, "In the ancient alchemist tomb, the 9 of you wanted to kill me and take the Baodan, but the 8 of you were killed by my sword. Now, you have the nerve to gather people and come to Wuji Gate to make trouble for me. You are really despicable. Using the word shameless to describe you is an insult to the word shameless." He stared at the young man of Shinga Taoism. His eyes were very cold. The Wuji Peak Master frowned and looked at the young man of the true martial arts sect. "Lin Tian, don't talk nonsense." The young man of Shinga Taoism stared at Lin Tian with a cold expression. That day, the 9 of us fought a bloody battle with the ghost soldiers and evil spirits. It was not easy for us to kill our way out and take the Baodan. Unfortunately, you and your companions secretly approached the green wooden coffin and stole the fruits of our battle. The 9 of us only hoped that you would share some of the fruits of our battle with us. But you killed us. You are really ruthless. Hearing this, Lin Tian suddenly laughed. The 9 of you are useless. You were forced to a corner by the ghost soldiers and evil spirits, and you have the nerve to say that you worked together to kill your way out? My companions and I repelled a group of Een soldiers and malicious ghosts, destroyed the shameless ambush of the 9 of you, and finally rushed to the front of the green wooden coffin to obtain the treasured pill. Yet, in your mouth, we stole the victory of the 9 of you? In order to take the Baodan, the 9 of you worked together to kill us, but you died because you were weak. Now you say that I am ruthless? Staring at the young man of Xingge Taoism with disdain, Lin Tian said, "Excuse me, do you know how to write the word face? Distorting the facts. You are making things up." The young man of Xingge Taoism shouted. The elder of Xingge Taoism stared at Lin Tian and said, "No matter what, you killed people. You should atone for your crimes with your death." Did I kill the people of Xingge Taoism? What is the purpose of your Xingge Taoism rushing to Wuji Gate? Lin Tian's eyes were cold as he looked directly at the elder of Xingge Taoism. He was very clear about some things. That day, when he displayed the weapon control technique, everyone was shocked. This technique was said to be the only martial skill that surpassed supernatural powers and was extremely powerful. Today, the elders of the 9 sects came together. On the surface, it seemed that they wanted to kill their disciples, but in fact, it was most likely that they wanted to seize his weapon control technique. He had to admit that his intuition was very accurate. After the young disciple of Xingge Taoism escaped that day, he told the elder of his sect that Lin Tian had mastered the legendary weapon control technique. The weapon control technique was extremely powerful and was said to be comparable to the Celestial Master's secret skill. The elder of Xingge Taoism thought for a while and secretly contacted the people of the other 8 sects to discuss in secret. It was not until a while ago that he came to Wuji Gate. The 10 sects are united. The disciples of the true martial arts sect witnessed the tragedy and came to testify. The elder of Xingge Taoism narrowed his eyes. What a nice way to put it. Lin Tianling chuckled. A cold snort was heard. The elder of Qinghua Taoism said, "Wuji Peak Master, Muyang Feng, and the other peak masters of Wuji Gate, this man killed the outstanding disciples of the 8 sections. This is an indisputable fact. Now, please hand this evil creature over to us. We will use this evil creature's blood as a sacrifice to the souls of our disciples in heaven. Of course, you can take this man away after suppressing him. The Wuji Gate will never protect such an evil creature." Muyang Feng said. The Wuji Peak Master frowned. Lin Tian was related to that person. What's the commotion? At this moment, a low voice was heard. In the depths of Wuji Gate, a beam of immortal light rushed up and turned into a middle-aged man. The middle-aged man was dressed in a green robe, and there were bright, divine halos intertwined around his body. He was like a Ruoxian, giving off an incomparably powerful pressure. Seeing this person, everyone's expression changed. Gate Master, the Wuji Peak Master, and the others bowed in unison, their eyes full of respect. The people of Wuji Gate did not expect that the Gate Master of Wuji Gate would come out of seclusion today. In addition to the people of Wuji Gate, the elders of the other sects also bowed respectfully. After all, the Gate Master of Wuji Gate was a powerful existence in the immortal state. Qinghua Taoism, Xingge Taoism, Green Flame, Immortal Gate. The Gate Master of Wuji's sect stood in midair and glanced at the people of Qinghua Taoism. He said, "The people of the 9 sects have gathered at Wuji Gate. What's the matter?" The Gate Master of Wuji's sect's voice was calm, but there was a kind of majestic aura that made the people of Qinghua Taoism tremble. Gate Master of Wuji's sect, it's like this. The elder of Qinghua Taoism briefly explained the whole story. The Gate Master of Wuji's sect glanced around and rested his eyes on Lin Tian. Then he looked at the Wuji Peak Master and the others. Gate Master, it's true. Lin Tian is cruel and merciless. In order to fight for the Baodan, he cruelly killed the outstanding disciples of the 8 sects of Qinghua Taoism. He can't be allowed to live. Such a person is a disgrace to the celestial style of Wuji Gate. The Gate Master of Muyangfeng said. The elder of Qinghua Taoism bowed and said, Gate Master of Wuji sect, please hand over the murderer to us. The Gate Master of Wuji sect put his hands behind his back, his eyes still calm. The Peak Master of Wuji Peak secretly said, Gate Master, the direct descendant of the Bai family came to Wuji Gate and stayed at my Wuji Peak. She has a good relationship with Lin Tian. If we hand Lin Tian over, that girl might not be too happy. The Gate Master of Wuji sect's eyes moved slightly and looked at Lin Tian. He had a relationship with the direct descendant of the Bai family? Looking at Lin Tian, the Gate Master of Wuji sect remained silent. Facing the Gate Master of Wuji sect's gaze, Lin Tian couldn't help but feel a chill down his spine. He felt as if he was invisible. He couldn't help but sigh. A master of the immortal reaching realm was indeed terrifying. However, after a while, he returned to normal. He had withstood the pressure of a master of the enlightenment realm. Compared to a master of the enlightenment realm, the aura of a master of the immortal reaching realm was much weaker. The Gate Master of Wuji sect seemed to have felt the change in Lin Tian's mentality. He narrowed his eyes, and a trace of surprise flashed across his eyes. Gate Master of Wuji sect, please hand over the murderer to us. Our disciples were cruelly killed by him. If we don't offer his blood as a sacrifice, it will be difficult for the souls to rest in peace. Gate Master of Wuji sect, please enlighten us. Gate Master of Wuji sect, please avenge our dead disciples. The elders of the 8 sects spoke one after another. Chapter 330. Lin Tianlin glanced coldly at the young man from Xinga Taoism, the Xinga Taoism, and the Qinghua Taoism. Then he looked at the sect master of the Wuji sect. He wanted to read. The sect master of the Wuji sect was silent. He glanced at Lin Tian. Senior sect master of the Wuji sect, please have mercy on us and help us. The elder of the Qinghua Taoism said. Senior, please have mercy on us. The others said. The sect master of the Wuji sect looked down. After a while, he nodded slightly. At this moment, the sect master of the Wuji sect thought of many things. As the sect master of the Wuji Gate, he was able to distinguish the pros and cons of many things. As an existence in the celestial reaching realm, he could tell at a glance that Lin Tian was not at fault. However, he could not protect Lin Tian because of this. Because if he did, he would become enemies with the other 9 sections. It was obviously not worth it to become enemies with the other 9 sects for an ordinary disciple. On the other hand, although Lin Tian was related to the Bai family, the sect master of the Wuji sect knew that this relationship was not very good. For the ancient Bai family, which was at the top of the Qingyun realm, Lin Tian was after all an outsider. The Bai family would definitely not have any reaction for an outsider. Moreover, the Bai family's direct descendant was not here at this moment. Therefore, the sect master of the Wuji sect naturally knew what to do. Seeing the sect master of the Wuji sect nod, the Peak Master of the Wuji sect frowned slightly. The sect master of the Muyang Feng sect sneered. Senior sect master of the Wuji sect, thank you for your wise judgment. Xinga Taoism and the others bowed and thanked him. Muyang Feng sect master smiled at Xinga Taoism and the others. Then he looked at Lin Tian and ordered the deacons, take him down. Yes. All the deacons nodded. At this moment, dozens of people surrounded Lin Tian. Lin Tian's expression froze slightly. He turned to the head of the Wuji sect and said, Sect leader, you are the master of the Wuji Gate, and I am a disciple of the Wuji Gate. You, who have reached the realm of heavenly connection, should be able to see right and wrong in an instant. At this time, shouldn't you protect your own disciple? How dare you? Who do you think you are? How dare you speak to the sect leader like that? Muyang Feng shouted. Lin Tian didn't care about Sect Master Myongfeng at all. He only looked at Limitless Sect Master seriously and calmly. The Limitless Sect Master's eyes narrowed. He was slightly moved as he looked at Lin Tian. "You're not bad. It has nothing to do with strength or talent." Looking at Lin Tian, the Limitless Sect Master, who had been silent for a while, gave the most pertinent evaluation. However, this evaluation didn't change his mind. "It's just that you still killed the people of the 8 major sections." Hearing the Limitless Sect Master's words, Lin Tian couldn't help but smile. "I understand." With a clang, an upper-grade true treasure sword appeared in his hand, shining with a cold light. After all, he was just an ordinary disciple. He couldn't be compared to the other major sections. Therefore, he could only be sacrificed. "Do it!" Myongfeng, Sect Master, shouted. In an instant, the deacons attacked. Sabers and swords flashed, and powerful, vital essence surged. The elders of the Tsinghua Taoism Sect Master smiled slightly. This matter finally had a perfect ending. On the other side, the young man of the Shinga Taoism Sect Master smiled slightly and clenched his fists. After this matter, he would receive an incomparably generous reward. Boom! The vital essence vibrated even more violently. The deacons of the Wuji Gate pressed on Lin Tian together. Lin Tian's expression was very cold. The sword in his hand vibrated, and the 9 forms of the burning sun was activated to the limit. The Limitless Sect Master looked at Lin Tian. Seeing the useless aura that Lin Tian was emitting, he couldn't help but sigh inwardly. This was indeed a talent with extraordinary courage. Unfortunately, before he grew up, he wouldn't be of much value. Shaking his head slightly, the Limitless Sect Master stepped into the void and walked into the depths of the Limitless Gate. This matter was considered over. Who dares to touch him? At this moment, a delicate voice came from below the fallen immortal peak. In the blink of an eye, Bai Qiu flashed and appeared in front of Lin Tian. Seeing Bai Qiu arrive, Myongfeng Sect Master frowned immediately. At the same time, the Limitless Peak Master sent a voice transmission to the Limitless Sect Master, revealing Bai Qiu's identity. The Limitless Sect Master's eyes flickered as he looked down. Seeing that the matter was about to be resolved, the elders of the Green Flame Immortal Sect all became gloomy. "Who are you?" the Tsinghua Taoism Sect elder said coldly. The young man from the Shinga Taoism pointed at Bai Qiu and said loudly, "Senior, this is the companion of the murderer, Lin Tian. She was also involved in the killing of our 8 senior brothers. Suppress her and avenge our 8 senior brothers." Hearing the young man from the Shinga Taoism Sect Master, Myongfeng Sect Master's face darkened. The Limitless Peak Master was stunned. He opened his mouth, but didn't know what to say. The Limitless Sect Master stared at the young man from the Shinga Taoism Sect Master with a strange expression. Lin Tian stared at this person with pity and sarcasm in his eyes. "You also attacked?" The Tsinghua Taoism Sect elder stared at Bai Qiu with a cold expression. Then he bowed to the Limitless Sect Master and said seriously, "Senior Limitless Sect Master, please show mercy and allow us to take this person away." "Senior Limitless Sect Master, please allow us to do so." The elders of the other great sects also spoke. The Limitless Sect Master didn't say anything. He just looked down. Buzz! On the fallen angel peak, a ball of light suddenly appeared on Bai Qiu's body. Bai Qiu stretched out his right hand, and a divine seal appeared. This divine seal was like a full moon. It was noble, sacred, and majestic. Suddenly, the faces of the Shinga Taoism and Tsinghua Taoism sect masters changed. "This is the divine seal? It's the symbol of the Bai family's princess. How could you?" Seeing this divine seal, the faces of the Tsinghua Taoism sect masters turned pale. The divine seal appeared and shone brightly, illuminating all directions. At this moment, everyone trembled. Even the Limitless Sect Master descended from the sky and stood on the ground. In the face of the divine seal that symbolized the princess of the Bai family, he had to show respect even though he was the sect master of a large sect. After all, The Bai family was a real giant. The eldest princess of this family was equivalent to the heavenly jewel of the second heaven. Bai Qiu was usually very lively and naughty. However, at this moment, after the divine seal appeared, her entire aura changed. Her face turned cold as she glanced at the Tsinghua Taoism sect masters. Half a month ago, at the ancient alchemist tomb, the disciples of the 9 sects besieged me. It was Lin Tian who saved me and blocked the attacks of the 9 of you. Now, the 9 sects still dare to cause trouble for him. Do you want to be annihilated? The sect elders of the Tsinghua Taoism sect masters trembled and felt a chill run down their spines. Yu, the young man of the Tsinghua Taoism sect master, was stunned. His lips trembled. The person that the 9 of them threatened to stop that day was actually the eldest princess of the Bai family. Just a moment ago, he even threatened to kill Bai Qiu together with Lin Tianyi to pay tribute to the dead disciples of the 8 great sects. You're too presumptuous, Bai Qiu shouted. The sect elders of the Tsinghua Taoism sect masters trembled and knelt down. Please forgive us, Princess Bai. We didn't know that you were with him. If we knew who you were, we wouldn't have dared to do this even if we had 10,000 guts. Please don't be angry. Terror filled the hearts of the 9 of them. The 9 of them came together, wanting to capture Lin Tian and bring him away. Never in their wildest dreams would they have imagined that the one who accompanied Lin Tian in the ancient tomb was actually the eldest princess of the Bai clan of this generation. Not only that, they had even personally requested the everlasting Empyrean to allow them to bring Bai Qiu away. Now, all of them were so frightened that their souls were about to leave their bodies. The Bai clan was the most powerful clan in the second heavenly realm, and they had actually offended the princess of the Bai clan. If the Bai clan was enraged because of this, they could wipe out the 9 great sects in a blink of an eye. Please forgive us, Princess Bai. Please forgive us. The 9 people were in a panic. Bai Qiu glanced at the 9 people and looked at the young man from the Shinga Taoism sect masters. She said coldly, "That day, the 9 of you tried to kill me and him for the Baodan. 8 of you were killed. You were lucky to escape, but you didn't repent. How dare you come to the Wuji Gate to find trouble with him? Do you think the second heaven is the backyard of the Shinga Taoism?" The young man from the Shinga Taoism sect masters trembled and fell to the ground. His eyes were full of fear, and he couldn't say a word. Then a fishy smell came out, and his crotch was wet. Despicable. Disgusting, Bai Qiu said. The elder of the Shinga Taoism sect masters felt a chill down his spine. The next moment, he waved his hand and slapped his disciple into pieces. He said to Bai Qiu, "Our disciple made up nonsense and offended Princess Bai. Please don't be angry, Princess Bai." The blood splattered on the fallen immortal peak. It was a ghastly sight. The deacons of the Wuji Gate and the members of the Tsinghua Taoism sect masters were all frightened and didn't dare to say a word. "Apologize to him," Bai Qiu said to the elders of the Shinga Taoism sect masters. How could the 9 people of the true martial sect not know who this he Bai Qiu was referring to was? At this time, they didn't dare to hesitate at all. They all looked towards Lin Tian, not even daring to stand up. They all bowed deeply, as if they were paying homage to their own old ancestor. "Little friend Lin, please forgive us. We were also bewitched. Please forgive us, my friend Lin. It's all our fault. We are willing to pay the price. Please don't lower yourself to our level, my friend Lin. Please forgive us, my friend Lin." The 9 of them said one after another with a look of fear and trepidation. Lin Tian's face was cold and indifferent. He didn't care about the 9 of them. Bai Qiu tilted her head and looked at Miang Feng. She didn't give him any face at all. "You didn't ask about Qing Hong. You ordered people to suppress your disciples several times. You should apologize to him too." "What? Impossible." Miang Feng's face changed. It was humiliating for a peak leader like him to apologize to an ordinary disciple. "Apologize?" Bai Qiu's face was cold. Looking at Bai Qiu, Lin Tian was a little surprised but also a little touched. This girl usually didn't put on airs. She was very lively and mischievous. However, for him, She showed her identity in public and became so domineering. Muang Feng's face was very dark. He clenched his fists tightly. At the same time, a voice sounded. The Wuji Gate Master looked at Muang Feng and said, "Apologize to him. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories."